The Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry has backed a 3.5% rise, while the Australian Restaurant and Cafe Association says a rise of up to 4% would be balanced. But the ACTU believes it should be closer to 5%, given the effect of the Iran conflict and the RBA interest rate rises. It says there's no evidence an increase in the minimum wage has affected inflation in the past.
Another challenge for Australia's wine industry. Vince Gocello from Di Bortoli says they're starting to feel the pinch from rising diesel and petrol prices. They're also juggling with a glut of wine, a hangover from the tariffs battle with China.
But that's happened not only here in Australia, but in most of the most popular wine-growing countries. Europe, for example, Spain, Italy, France are in the same boat. So there's a lot of wine about and consumption is down. So it is a challenging market.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Get to Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Mawson Lakes for the Outlander ES. Drive away from just $39,990.
Good morning, Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Kate. It is selection night for the Crows and Geelong ahead of their round 3 clash tomorrow night at GMHBA Stadium. The Crows will be without Rory Laird and Callum Archie, who are both injured in the clash against the Bulldogs, while veteran Taylor Walker is set to be rested. Coach Matthew Nicks will address the media. His Port counterpart, Josh Carr, will also address the media this morning as the Power continues its preparations ahead of Sunday's clash at home against West Coast. The Power will lose Connor Rosie and Miles Bergman to injury, but are set to regain Ollie Wines from suspension, while Lockie Jones also looks set to return from injury. Meantime, former AFL boss Andrew Demetriou is backing opening round in the northern states, but says he understands why fans are frustrated by the early bye rounds. As pressure mounts on the AFL over fixture complications, Demetriou says a lack of football every week is a challenge for the league.
And I get that. I mean, I'm not quite sure why that's the case. I'm not close enough to it. But I think if you had 9 games happening every week and the byes in the middle of the season, people wouldn't be so aggrieved.
Meantime, the Sandful will launch its season this morning in the city as excitement builds ahead of the season getting underway this weekend. Well, South Australia's cricketers will train today ahead of tomorrow's Sheffield Shield final, which begins against Victoria. And Josh Giddey has scored 15 points as his Chicago Bulls beat the Houston Rockets 132-124 in the NBA. The Bulls, though, are set to miss the playoffs as they have a 29-42 record for the season. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Thank you, Tom. Now to the 5AA forecast.
The fight against scams never stops. To defend you, Australian banks have joined forces with a major investment in new technology.
Partly cloudy for Adelaide today. We're heading for a top of 27 degrees. A shower or two tomorrow, a top of 20. 19 and cloudy for Friday. Staying grey on Saturday, cloudy and 22. And 25 degrees the top and mostly sunny on Sunday. Right now it's 19 degrees on 5AA. Always Adelaide.
Here at 5AA, we're all about supporting local. Head to the Excelsior Hotel, where kids eat free every weekend. The Excelsior Hotel, 110 Coghlan Street, Brompton. Feels like coming home, but better.
Thank you, South Australia. Once again, the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery has sold out early. And that's because every ticket funds life-changing medical research to support better care and better outcomes for South Australians, like you and your family. All remaining prizes, including the $4 million grand prize, will be drawn Thursday, April 2nd. Miss out this time? Become a member today to never miss out again. homelottery.com.au. Licence M148994.
You can rent a little, you can rent a lot.
Whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, you can rely on Red Spot to get you there. We're the all-Aussie, family-owned car rental company in airport terminals and cities across Australia with a new fleet and 100% local Aussie service. And right now, Red Spot is giving you spot-on savings of 15% off every vehicle at every location. Book direct and save at redspot.com.au/radio. T's and C's apply.
Red Spot.
Hi, Brett Ebert here for Mawson Lakes Mazda. There's a lot to like about Mawson Lakes Mazda. They'll take care of you with next day servicing, complimentary loan car, vacuum and wash. And your breakfast or lunch is on them. Your car gets the love too with their state-of-the-art service centre, brimming with top-trained mechanics. At Mawson Lakes Mazda, they'll look after your car and look after you. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
When you need capability, solutions and expertise for major projects, that's a Kennards Hire job.
Hi, Kennards Hire.
For 24/7 customer support, talk to our experts today.
Kennards make your job easy.
Come and join the team on 5AA.
What am I supposed to be doing?
Good morning.
First time caller, long time listener.
Live from Hindmarsh Square, it's 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday on 5AA Breakfast, the 25th of March. Coming up on the program this morning, it's March, which means April not far away, flu season not too far away. We're going to talk about the latest regarding flu shots this year. There was a data point out yesterday that's just the take-up hasn't quite been as enthusiastic as it has been in the past. What insights can we get about the flu season ahead? We'll find out after 6:30 today. A lot of people have wondered whether the current fuel crisis will be driving more people towards electric vehicles. We're going to try and find out. We'll be chatting with the CEO of the Motor Trade Association and the head of the Australian Electric Vehicles Association. Is it enough of a price paying that people are investigating actually changing cars? We'll find out before 7. After 7, you might have heard yesterday we spoke about the father and cafe owner that was facing deportation. He's coming on after 7 o'clock this morning. We'll discuss the latest, the source of the woes when it comes to petrol, the Strait of Hormuz. The associate at the National Security College at ANU, Jennifer Parker, is going to be on. I've seen her on BBC, I've seen her on CNN, I've seen her on pretty much every major international news service as one of the world's foremost experts in maritime and naval strategy. Looking forward to her coming on the program. Sean Fuster, David Kosh. It's a jam-packed morning. We'd love you to be a part of it as well on 8223 0000. David Penberthy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. Going to be a busy news day in Adelaide. We're going to find out who is going to be running the state for the next 4 years. We know quite emphatically that is the Labor Party, but in terms of the ministries, all of that will be announced. They're going to be sworn in too, so lots of smiling faces down there at Government House on North Terrace. There's not too many things we can confirm yet. We can confirm that Tom Koutsantonis is still going to be the Treasurer, and also that Chris Picton is no longer going to be the Health Minister. Apparently he's said to the Premier, quite keen to do something else.
Understandable.
Yeah. Well, he had a pretty rough few months. Terrible loss of his brother. That's still the subject of
Blair Boyer was
criminal charges.
Spoke on behalf of health in Chris Picton's absence, did he not?
Yeah, but he's the police minister and the education minister.
Yeah, but maybe he surrenders those, perhaps. Health's the biggest portfolio outside of Treasury.
I got a weird feeling Lucy Hood might get it.
That would make sense.
Because I think she's seen as a really capable pair of hands by the Premier. But, all will be revealed.
The interesting story on page 7 of the Advertiser this morning. We are getting close to Gather Round week here in Adelaide. Obviously, next week the build-up to Easter, then Gather Round after that. There's no deal, according to John Ralph's reporting in the Advertiser this morning, on the 2027 version and beyond. There's a few sticking points. They're trying to work out how it might play out. One of them is the league is also aware of Tasmania's inclusion in 2028 and how a 19-team competition will work for Gather Round, because someone won't come to Gather Round. And the AFL, obviously, this is being phrased by John Ralph as a difficult decision. Because politically, imagine you have to nominate who misses out. That's tough for the AFL. It's not tough for us. So what we're going to do is going to help them out this morning. Just 8223 0000 or text in on 0448 08 1395. Which team should miss out on Gather Round? This is simple.
Well, like this.
Which team should miss out on Gather Round? You have to name a team. There's no clever workarounds. We need a name and a team. We're going to help out our good friends, the AFL and the state government, who don't want to upset anyone. This is democracy at work. 8223 0000 0480 08 1395. Nominate which team should miss. It doesn't have to be all the Gather Rounds, just starting with 2028, and then we can do another vote in 2028 for 2029.
Would there be one team that might happily say, we'll just sit it out?
Just take the bye.
that might say, we'll put our names forward.
Well, Collingwood don't like to travel.
Well, that's right. They hate it.
Yeah,
they hate
might.
it. And, because they don't like it, the AFL says, okay, we won't make you travel then. That's the way it works. Yeah, they're very accommodating on that front.
People are calling in. We'll get some more calls before we talk more on that. But first, James in Elizabeth has a traffic update for us. James, what's happening out there?
G'day, guys. I left work this morning coming from Elizabeth heading to Holden Hill. Got to the lights on McIntyre Road, North East Road. Turn right there, heading towards Grand Junction Road. So in between those major intersections, the lights are out at North East Road and McIntyre Road, but all the power in that area is out. The on-the-run service station there's got no power. It's completely black. So as I'm heading right off of McIntyre, it looks like there's a Stobie pole down, and that's lying over someone's fence in their front garden. Emergency services are on the scene, but, man, that's going to be hectic if you're heading towards Tea Tree Gully in a half an hour or so. It looks pretty bad.
Thank you for that, James. We appreciate
Very
that, mate.
thorough briefing, James. Thank you for that.
That was a great report. Thank you for that. All right, let's go to Highbury. Mark, it's 2028 gather round. Who are you voting does not participate?
Gold Coast.
All right.
Oh,
make the case, Mark.
They've only got a crowd that could fit into a phone box, and so you wouldn't be bothered. Tell them not to turn up because they're no good. They won't win They won't win a flag in a hurry.
Oh, geez, I reckon they're going to be pretty good this year.
They might win one this year.
Thank you, Mark.
I'll tell you what, where's Quentin when you need him?
Quentin's already texted in.
He'll be firing up about that.
Thanks, Mark. Quentin fired off a text as a sort of in anticipation of that kind of call, saying, hang on, for some of us, following the smaller teams is the one chance you get to see them. Ian in Hindmarsh, good morning.
G'day, gentlemen. Really simple. Whoever wins the wooden spoon, they're ineligible for gather round. So let's hope that's Richmond. So that's a double win for the Crows. We're advanced for 2017.
Good on you, Ian. I think that's the right answer.
Well, no. I've got a better plan, Will.
Yeah.
So back in the day, back in the 70s, the SANFL Premiership team used to play off against the Victorian AFL Premiers.
Yes.
BFL, rather. Premiers. Sturt memorably beat Carlton one year.
I see where you're going with this.
There's an either the bottom placed AFL side plays the reigning SANFL Premier, or you have an SANFL All-Star side that plays one of the. So say at the moment you'd pick like Burjo from the Crows has gone back to Westies.
Yeah,
like you'd pick a side, all the gun players.
I like them just playing the reigning Premier, an actual footy team.
How good would that be? How good would it be?
That would be. You play it at the home, and you play it at the home ground of that sample side.
Yeah. So this year, actually, I think at the moment, better be careful because I reckon as things currently stand, wouldn't the Crows be playing Brisbane at Unley? A Brisbane bottom at the moment?
You mean Sturt would be playing Brisbane?
Sorry. Sturt would be playing. Who's bottom of the AFL?
It's got to be Essendon, doesn't it?
I reckon Sturt could go close to beating Essendon.
It's Essendon, yeah. Quentin and Old Ranella, we just mentioned you, Quentin. Good morning.
That guy is a silly, silly man. Seriousness, it should be Port Adelaide or Adelaide Crows because, like I said on the text, we don't get to see our team every week or every second week. So Adelaide supporters and Port Adelaide supporters get to see their team play every second week.
All right, one of the local sides, Quentin. I'm not sure.
Because it's a money thing and support and trying to promote the game and all that. There's no point promoting Adelaide and Port Adelaide in Adelaide. It's all the other teams and all the other supporters that get around and gather around. How about that?
Appreciate you making the case, Quentin, but democratically, it's going to be hard for that one to get up. Get the votes, I would suggest, on 5AA for the purpose of this thought exercise. But we thank you. 8223 0000 0480 08 1395. Which team should miss out? Nominate one. Your reasons could be as scientific, silly, or spiteful as you possibly desire. 8223000. Which team should not be here so we get an even number for the 2028 Gather Round?
Do you reckon tactically, with the future of Gather Round and all of the hair twirling by the AFL, we're still not sure, which means one thing and one thing only, give us more money. I reckon Mallee should say, listen, if you want another round zero, if you want to have Gather Round in Western Australia in the middle of a fuel crunch when no one can afford to get there, no one's going to drive there, there's probably not going to be enough flights. You're going to hold it in Sydney when nobody cares. Round zero shows us that every year now. It's one of the things you can set your watch by, that the AFL season starts with a whimper. The two states that don't really care about it. Or you're going to hold it in Tassie. Well, there's not enough infrastructure in Tassie.
No, you couldn't.
So I think it just says, if you want to try to threaten me, if you want to extort us with no plan B, go for it.
Call the bluff.
Yeah. Art of the deal.
I don't mind it. Well, negotiating from a position of strength because he's going to be in for a while, the Premier. So,
yeah.
We're talking about the future of many Gather Rounds.
That wasn't a Trump reference. The longer this war goes on, the more it's looking like the so-called ultimate deal maker is having a bit of a shock.
Well, he says overnight, he says the lines of communication are open. He says the Iranians have offered a great gift. He wouldn't say what it was, but it has to do with oil. And they've delivered on that gift. So hasn't really confirmed who he's negotiating with. But he's making very positive noises at the moment. I hope for everyone's sake that ultimately they bear fruit. It's 19 after 6.
Time to Pixter. Around 70% of serious dental problems start in the gaps between teeth. Pixters clean those gaps like floss, only easier. Keep by your toothbrush and use daily. Have you Pixtered today?
Adelaide's local, trusted and truly connected talkback radio station. 5AA. Always Adelaide.
March into Kia for an incredible finance deal on in-stock new and demo Tasman X Series models with Kia Finance. Approved ABN holders can get to work sooner with a 1.99 per annum interest rate. That's serious value on serious capability. Visit your nearest Kia dealership and test drive your Tasman today. Minimum $10,000 deposit, maximum finance amount $80,000. Maximum term 36 months, ends 31st of March. T's and C's, fees, charges and lending criteria apply. Hyundai Capital Australia Proprietary Limited. Australian credit licence 554051. Offer extended.
Kia, movement that inspires. 5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide Tech Guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Harvey Norman's massive March deals are on now, with savings across laptops, mobiles, gaming, fitness and more. For something simple and affordable, the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim 3 14-inch, now just $358, save $140, is perfect for everyday browsing, emails and study. If you want a bit more power, the HP 15.6-inch Ryzen 5 laptop, $898, save $400. Gives you fast performance with 16 gig of RAM, so it's great for multitasking. Or the Acer Aspire 14 AI laptop, $1,098, save $400. Really stands out with AI capability and a huge 1TB SSD. So you've got speed now, plus plenty of space and future-ready performance. It's a massive March, so hurry in now.
Check out this great offer at a Harvey Norman store near you.
SA Seafood isn't just safe, it's also the best. Best when it's bought fresh from your local fishmonger or market. Best when you cook it up at home or you enjoy it at your favourite pub or restaurant.
Best shared among friends over a long lunch, and best from the fish and chip shop with chicken salt, of course. But here's what makes it even better. Every time you buy SA Seafood, you're supporting South Australian businesses.
I'd say chicken salt on the chips.
Yeah, I'm with you on
Not
that.
the seafood, but yes, a great accompaniment to our wonderful seafood. From the fishers out on the water to the families running seafood shops, to the restaurants putting it on the plate, you are keeping locals in jobs and our communities thriving.
So buy the best, buy SA Seafood. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Harris Scarf Friends exclusive great brand sale is on now. Save 50% off full price cookware by Tefal and save 20% off full price Russell Hobbs. Sale ends soon, exclusions apply. See conditions online. Harris Scarf, great brands, great prices.
Shower time. The best time of the... Is that a crack in my grout? Cracks mean leaks. Hidden damage. Watery damage. The home we love falling apart around us. We should move out.
Got grout out? Time to call the grout guy.
We'll take the old grout out and put the new grout in.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
Gather round. How about that?
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
22 after 6. We'll get back to some more of your nominations for the side that should miss out on the 2028 Gather Round to resolve the quandary over having an uneven number of teams with Tassie entering the competition very, very shortly. You can text into on 044808 1395. We've just received some terrible confirmation from SAPOL regarding a crash at Birdwood yesterday that we now know is a terrible, terrible tragedy. 3 people have died following that crash at about 1:40 yesterday. Police and emergency services were called to the intersection of Warren Road and Lucky Hit Road after reports a truck and a Toyota sedan had collided. 3 passengers in the sedan died at the scene. The driver of the Toyota sustained life-threatening injuries. A 4th passenger was seriously injured as well. Both of those were taken to the hospital for treatment. The driver of the truck was not physically injured and is assisting police with the investigation. Major crash have attended the scene to examine the circumstances surrounding the crash. Roads were closed for a significant period of time. These are the 24th, 25th and 26th that lives lost on South Australian roads this year.
That's a terrible, terrible story.
Hayden Nelson was covering the story for 7 News yesterday and joins us now on 5AA Breakfast. Hayden, this stretch of road, for our listeners that aren't familiar with it, don't travel through the hills a lot, what can you tell us about it? Because I know it actually has a tragic history, does it not?
Yeah, that's what we understand, that there has been a handful of lives lost here, at least in the past few years, and you have to think that this road, going back many more years than that, other lives have been lost. So we know that young children lost their lives at this road, so this is just another tragedy to occur on this stretch of road. Warren Road and Matthew Hill Road is what we were told yesterday, but I know that our crew who was sent there were kept well back, about 2 k's away from this crash. So that gives you an indication about the scale of the scene. A cattle truck and a car as well. As you said, 5 people inside, 3 of those passengers dying, 1 taken here where we're doing our live crosses from for sunrise this morning to the Royal Adelaide Hospital by helicopter, another taken by road, one of those in a serious condition. So, it's terrible, terrible, awful incident. I mean, this news from this morning confirming that 3 people have died in this crash, just devastating. And we knew this was a nasty one when we were there. We knew that's why police were keeping us back. But this, this is unimaginable word that we didn't expect to come from police this morning.
Are there any ages on the victims, Hayden, or any details? Like, did we know, are they from the same family or any of that information yet?
No, that hasn't been confirmed by police at this stage, David, not ages or any further details apart from what Will's just read out before. So I wish I could tell you more, unfortunately. I know this stretch of road is one that's used by fruit pickers, so that, this time of year, the Adelaide Hills, it's obviously when people employed in these industries are driving to and from work, and people carpool. That's what people do to get to and from work. I know it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so it is just speculation who these people are. But in the past, when I have covered crashes on this road, they have been fruit pickers. So that's certainly, awful if they're all working for the same company or from the same family.
Yeah.
Terrible story.
Hayden, thank you. Hayden Nelson for 7 News covering that crash. So the roads, as Hayden says, he's been there before covering crashes. Warren Road, Lucky Hit Road. If you're up in the hills, Birdwood area, how notorious is this road? How bad is it? We'd like to hear from you. We'll get some local information. 8223 is the number. Let's have a look at the weather for today. 19.7 degrees outside at the moment, heading for a top today of 27 degrees. So a little bit cooler than yesterday. Felt quite balmy yesterday, actually. Then it cools down significantly tomorrow. 20 degrees the top tomorrow with potentially a little drizzle of rain. There was a little drizzle of rain getting around this morning, actually. We've got a few texts that suggested there is some localised rain around Adelaide. Friday will be 19, the expected top.
Cool.
And cloudy. That's cool. That's certainly cool. Saturday, cloudy and 22. Sunday, mostly sunny and 25. Monday, 28. Tuesday, 31. So it might be a warmish, maybe Easter week next week, but we don't know too much yet beyond the Tuesday. Tom Wren's in the 5AA Breakfast Studio with us. Get to Agostina Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Mawson Lakes for the Outlander ES. Drive away from just $39,990. Morning, Reddy.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. Fellas, a few outs. We've got the teams coming out tonight for the Crows and also Geelong. Now, we know that the Crows are going to be without Rory Laird, Callum Archie through injury. Taylor Walker's going to be rested. So that's confirmed. Back-to-back 6-day breaks. But Paddy Dangerfield also out.
Really?
He's out with the calf strain. So
how old Paddy Dangerfield?
I think he's 35, maybe 36.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing career and always seems to play well against the Crows.
He does, doesn't he?
So that'll help. I mean, Geelong will still, and I think deservedly so, they haven't lost against the Crows there in 23 years. They'll still be favourites.
What were you doing 23 years ago, Tom?
I remember I was at uni, I reckon. I reckon that was back when Ronnie Burns was playing, Mark Bickley, James Gallagher.
Ronnie Burns.
Yeah, I used to love Ronnie.
Yeah.
He was my favourite, or one of my favourites in that sort of era.
Yep.
So, I reckon it was it was Gary Ayres. I reckon that's when he was giving it to the box when all the Cats fans
right,
were
he
giving
did too. They were sitting in front of him, giving it to him, and he gave it back.
Yeah. So,
Gary Ayres.
It's been too long.
Roger Ramjet.
I think they're a chance. I do think they're a chance. It'll be tough, but Dangerfield out definitely helps.
Yeah.
So teams tonight will come out. Port, we won't get those teams till tomorrow night. They don't play until Sunday. One of the other things too, just breaking in the last sort of half an hour or so, Mo Salah, one of the sort of Liverpool greats, one of their greatest probably players ever, given what he's done, 435 appearances, 255 goals. He's leaving at the end of the season, so a bit of a change in the guard for Liverpool.
He's Egyptian, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he'll be playing for Egypt in the World Cup because I've made it through, haven't they?
Yes, and I remember when he was signed at the time, it was for, I think it was only about £3 or £4 million, and everyone was like, who's this, guy? He's an absolute joker. What a joker for signing, and he's turned out to be one of the best investments they ever made. But it's been sort of teetering a little bit in the last 12 months or so, but he will be gone at the end of this season. 33.
Okay. He's not that old then.
Yeah, but, getting on, but still got some good stuff left.
It's tough at the very top of the sport with infinite budgets where you can afford to keep bringing in guys right in their prime.
Yep.
It's not like other sorts of leagues with drafts and things, salary caps. You don't have to just ride out careers. You just, all right, we'll get in the next Mo Salah because we can. And he could go to an MLS or Saudi Arabian league.
Do a Messi and end up in Miami or something like that.
And make stupid amounts of money. Not that he's not already well compensated, but probably less pressure, lower standard, and still earn.
Play less often. That's the thing that's underrated about playing on the continent in Europe. It's just how often you have to play.
He will still play the national side, won't he?
I would think so. Yeah, for the World Cup.
See, Iran have pulled out of the World Cup.
Yeah.
So there's going to be another side coming in from the Middle Eastern group, most likely, which is probably going to be Iraq. Iran being our bête noire in Australia after the 98 World Cup bid when they beat us at the MCG.
That's right. Yeah, 2-0 up and, went south from there.
Tell you what, it has saved FIFA the awkwardness around the scheduling of what was meant to be the Pride game. We're in the draw. This is like the LGBTIQ game in Seattle. And when they did the draw, they worked out that it was going to be Iran versus Egypt.
Oh, well, hang on. It depends which Middle Eastern side we're talking about. It might still be awkward.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Well, it will probably be awkward regardless of which one it is, won't
it?
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, the only one that would be up for it is Israel.
Yeah, Israel.
Rest of them, they're not
into that kind of thing.
Dim view.
Good on you, Annie.
Thanks, boys.
Tom.
This is 5AA News. Always Adelaide.
Partly cloudy today with a top of 27 degrees. With the 6:30 news, good morning, I'm Kate Collins.
Know the signs of concussion and how to treat. Register for Physio Extra's concussion webinar, March 25 and 26 at physioextra.com.
3 people have tragically died following a serious crash at Birdwood yesterday. Police and emergency services were called to the intersection of Warren and Lucky Hit Road yesterday afternoon after reports a truck and sedan had collided. Hayden Nelson from 7 News says the road has a tragic history.
There has been a handful of lives lost here, at least in the past few years, and you have to think that this road, going back many more years than that, other lives have been lost. So we know that young children lost their lives at this road, so this is just another tragedy to occur on this stretch of road.
A fourth person was seriously injured. Major crash attended the scene and roads were closed for several hours but have since reopened. The lives lost are the 24th, 25th and 26th this year. A government minister says there are no immediate plans to impose a $40 fuel cap in response to the supply issues triggered by the Middle East conflict. The measure is one of the proposals featured in a government fuel emergency manual obtained under Freedom of Information laws. But Environment Minister Murray Watt has said that this is a document from 6 years ago.
But that's not something the government's considering. We continue to encourage all Australians, though, to only use the fuel that they need. We know that there are some pretty severe disruptions to supply in some parts of the country, so we've got to think of each other at these sort of times and make sure that we only use the fuel that we really need.
Pakistan's Prime Minister says his country is ready to facilitate conclusive talks between the United States and Iran to end the Middle East conflict. Asked if the talks will take place, the White House press secretary says the situation is fluid, adding speculation about meetings should not be deemed final until a formal announcement is made. We're being encouraged to get vaccinated ahead of the cold and flu season. The Heart Foundation says vaccinations help limit the spread of common viruses, including the flu and RSV, which can worsen or cause cardiovascular disease. Spokesperson Natalie Raffoul says the virus affects millions of Australians.
Cardiovascular disease is a leading cause of death in Australia. It impacts over 4 million Australians, and it places you at increased risk of serious complications after a respiratory infection.
Married at First Sight dating coach Mel Schilling is being remembered as a fighter. The reality TV star has passed away at the age of 54 following a 2-year battle with cancer. Close friend and MAFS co-star John Aikens says she hung in there till the very end.
No, she's a huge loss, and sometimes it's hard to breathe, just thinking about her.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Get to Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Mawson Lakes for the Outlander ES. Drive away from just $39,990.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kate. Geelong has been dealt a blow ahead of tomorrow night's clash against the Crows, with Patrick Dangerfield ruled out because of a calf injury. The Crows, though, will also have to make changes. Rory Laird and Callum Archie both injured, while Taylor Walker is set to be rested. Port Adelaide isn't playing until Sunday against West Coast, so we'll name their squad tomorrow night. Small forward Joe Richards has made a strong start to the season, and he's told Rowie and Timmy G he's loving teaming up with fellow small forward Corey Durden.
Yeah, he's been good for us, Corey. He's only played a couple of games, but hit the scoreboard both times and plays the role that we need him to, and he's really lively down there, as you would have seen on the weekend. Applies a lot of pressure and hit the scoreboard as well, so he's been great for us so far, and hopefully he can keep it up.
An important training session for Jeremy Howe and Darcy Moore this morning as the Collingwood defensive duo look to prove their fitness for Friday night's game against the Giants. The pair have missed the opening rounds with calf injuries. To soccer now, Sydney FC has sacked coach Ufak Talay, with Patrick Kisnorbo set to take the reins immediately. The Sky Blues are currently 5th on the A-League table, still on track to play finals with 4 matches remaining. And after 9 years at Liverpool, Mo Salah has announced he's leaving the Reds at the end of the season. The 33-year-old has netted 255 goals in 435 appearances, making him third on the club's all-time goal scorers list. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Thank you, Rennie. Now to the 5AA forecast.
The fight against scams never stops. To defend you, Australian banks have joined forces with a major investment in new technology.
Partly cloudy for Adelaide today. We're heading for a top of 27 degrees. A shower or two tomorrow and 20. 19 and cloudy for Friday. Staying grey on Saturday, cloudy and 22. 25 the top and mostly sunny on Sunday. Right now it's 19 degrees on 5AA. Always Adelaide.
Imagine waking up to a to-do list that includes ACE.
Don't you dare. Fancy a dance?
Downsize and upgrade your lifestyle at a Living Choice retirement resort and swap chores for choices. Gotcha. A choice of locations to live, passions to pursue, and ways to feel young again. For a limited time, enjoy a $10,000 lifestyle package. Conditions apply.
To happy days.
Visit livingchoice.com.au.
Build like a brick house. Basic Trailers make quality trailers of all sizes here in Adelaide. Made with Australian steel, you get 12 months warranty and factory direct pricing across SA. Visit basictrailers.com.au. Basic Trailers. Basically better.
If you run a small business, well, you already know this. Clutter costs time, whether it's your workshop, storeroom, parts area, back office or warehouse. When things don't have a proper place, you waste half your day hunting for stock, tools, paperwork or equipment.
Or irrigation gear. That's why Sharman Shelving is a game changer. Bill and the team, they don't do one-size-fits-all shelving. They come out, measure your space, design a custom storage solution around how your business works, then deliver and install it properly. Strong, Aussie tough, steel shelving. A lot of the people who make Sharman Shelving used to work in the car industry. And you can tell.
Makes sense.
They are so well made. Workbenches, cupboards, even complete fit-outs.
Your space will look professional, it'll run smoother, and everything will be easy to access. Every business needs a little Sharman Shelving. Take a look on Facebook, Instagram, or visit their showroom in Windsor Gardens, or jump online at sharmanshelving.com.au.
Is stress making your muscles tense and your mind scattered? Introducing Caruso Super Magnesium Glycinate plus L-theanine. Caruso Super Magnesium Glycinate plus L-theanine supports muscle relaxation, cognitive function, mental concentration and focus. It also assists the body to cope with environmental stress. So if you're ready to feel relaxed and focused, try Caruso Super Magnesium Glycinate plus L-theanine today. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
21 minutes to 7. Yesterday, Australia signed off, finally, a ginormous free trade agreement with the European Union. You tend to be happy if you're in the wine industry. You tend to be less happy if you're a farmer, because from Europe's perspective, our farming, our ag sector to their ag sector is like Chinese manufacturing is to Australia. It's sort of an existential crisis waiting to happen. We got a bit of extra beef, which is good, certainly for some of the southeast here in South Australia. But one of the things we also got was Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commissioner, trying out some Australian turns of phrase. Did you hear any of these?
Yeah, it's great.
I think you call that hitting it for six.
Hitting it for six. That was good. She also had a crack at this.
It has been hard yucca.
Hard yucca.
Hard yucca.
Isn't that yucca? Isn't that a plant from the Northern Territory?
It is. That was excellent. Got us thinking, what are things you can say, sentences, turns of phrase that only make sense to Australians? 8223 0000, or text us on 0448 08 1395. It's unfortunate we don't have an Ursula von der Leyen artificial intelligence so we could get her to say all sorts of things. But
there was a great moment when John Howard was Prime Minister. Don't worry, Terry, I'm not about to extol the man's policy virtues for the next 10 minutes. But there was a hilarious moment in Australian slang, vernacular, linguistics, patois, when Howard, in the lead up to the war in Iraq, and this is obviously around what we now know as the flawed intelligence around WMDs, but John Howard, at a press conference, I'm pretty sure it was in Washington, it was when he was with George Bush, he said,
I think it's about time that Saddam Hussein was fair dinkum.
He said that.
Okay.
But I did a column at the time. The entire column was John Howard's extended threat. And the headline on it was "Fair Sucker the Sav Saddam." You know, we didn't come down with the last shower. We didn't come down in the last shower, Saddam. Don't play us for a bunch of drongos, Saddam. There's so many when you think about them.
Get your suggestions in 8223 0000, and the winner will get to hear Ursula von der Leyen saying,
I think you call that hitting it for six.
All right, let's talk vaccination, because we're coming to that part of the year where people's minds turn to the flu season ahead, winter, spending time indoors, being around each other a lot more. Beck Rogers from National Pharmacies, the Chief Pharmacist, joins us on 5AA Breakfast. Beck, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So, Beck, Why have people sort of gone off the flu vaccine a bit? The numbers have dipped a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, the numbers have started to dip, both in children and in adults. I think there are several reasons for that. Some of which is maybe vaccine fatigue, but it is really important to remember that vaccination is still a super important thing for people to be doing. And with the flu shot, it's really important that you do that every year because it changes every year, and so you won't be protected if you got vaccinated last year.
Now, is this something I know my older parents and all of their mates? It seems to be something that when you're retired and you're going out to Cafe Bongiorno's for a catch up or whatever it is you're doing, that everyone sits around talking about. I got my flu shot. But then Mum talks to me. I'm 56, and she says, "Have you got your flu shot?" And I go, "Nah, I haven't got my flu shot. Should I get one?"
You absolutely should get one. And what's the reason you're not getting one?
Oh, just because I'm younger and I don't really pay attention to my health, I guess.
So you think you don't need it?
Yeah.
Well, the highest risk people, like you talk about, those in the over 65 age cohort, under 5, and those with medical conditions, get their vaccination covered under the National Immunisation Program. So they're the ones at highest risk. Super important that they get their flu shot. But everybody else should get their flu shot as well. Particularly children, they might not like to share their toys, but they love to share their germs. And what often happens is a child will get the flu, then they'll spread it to everybody in their family, including their parents, who then maybe need to take time off work to look after them and all of the flow-on effects that happen from that. So at national pharmacies, we're making it even easier for people to get their flu shot this year. We are offering free flu shots for our national pharmacies members. And if you're not a member, you can come in and we can talk to you about joining and administer your flu shot there on the spot.
What does it cost if you're not a member to get a flu shot?
So $20.99 is our standard flu shot price this year. So we're also making it more accessible. We're making sure that we have got availability at lots of different pharmacies and at lots of different times as well. So we want everybody to get vaccinated from the flu because really who wants to get sick?
Well, yeah, exactly. Good tip. All right, I'll do it. Thank you, Beck. Beck Rogers, the Chief Pharmacist for National Pharmacy.
All right, let's head to Ingle Farm. Craig, what's your favourite sentence that only makes sense to Australians?
Good morning, boys. How are we?
Good, mate.
Good, thanks, mate.
I'm a builder, so there's a couple I use, and sometimes I get a funny look. We got some designers back at the showroom and from other countries, and a couple that I use that makes them sort of look sideways and what the hell you're talking about. One's a bit how you doing, which is, something's not quite right. And the other one is within a cooee, which is, close enough is good enough.
That makes sense.
That as a builder, but
Makes sense to me.
Well, there's a certain part of a bee's anatomy that is used as a measuring term in Australia, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. Within a bee. Yep.
That was it. That's excellent, Craig.
They're good,
well
Craig.
delivered as well. We're getting lots on the text line, and about 20% of them we can read out. So,
That's right.
Peter at Hillbank, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Just to let you know, I'm just coming back through Nuri, and it's actually raining at the moment out here.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. But my Spain I was coming down the slide at St Kilda with my daughter, and I got to the bottom and landed awkwardly at the bottom with my thongs, and I did a plugger.
A blowout.
Yes, a blowout. Yeah, did a blowout,
mate.
did a plugger. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent, Peter. Thank you. Keep them coming in. 8223 0000. Text us on 0448 08 1395. In the meantime, we're going to head to the Weather Bureau. Simon Timke is on deck this morning. Simon, there were a few reports of some spots of rain this morning. That was on the forecast, wasn't it?
Morning, Will. Morning, David. Yeah, that's right. Looking at the radar at the moment, there's been a band of showers sort of push across the mid-north up just to the north of Clare, and that band extends down over the Barossa Valley. So interesting to hear that bloke say that he was reporting rainfall at Newry, but it certainly looks that way on the radar. That band, it moved across the northern suburbs of Adelaide. We didn't pick up a lot of rainfall, but we've had 1.2 millimetres at the RAF base at Edinburgh, 1.4 millimetres at Little Para Reservoir, and quite a few spots up to the north and northeast there, picking up half a millimetre to a millimetre or so. So a little bit around the place. looking a little bit further afield on the radar, there is an area of showers just to the east of Port Lincoln, which is sort of heading eastwards as well. So there is a chance there could be a shower or two about the place today, maybe even a thunderstorm late morning and afternoon. That band of showers did produce a couple of strikes of lightning up over the mid-north there as well. So don't be surprised if you hear a rumble of thunder or a flash of lightning during the day as well. The wind's generally pretty light at the moment, and I think we'll see them tend around a bit more southwesterly in the middle of the day and then southeasterly during the evening. For our temperatures in Adelaide today, we've had an overnight minimum of 19 degrees, so relatively warm night for this time of year, sitting on that minimum temperature right now, 19 degrees in the city, and expecting a maximum of 27. Temperatures around the suburbs, expecting 28 for Elizabeth today, 25 for Glenelg and 26 degrees for Mount Barker and Noarlunga. There's a cold front moving across the Bight today, likely to just clip the southeast of the state. That'll bring some much cooler air to the state over the next couple of days and a chance of one or two showers around. So for Adelaide on Thursday, a couple of showers about the place. Temperature-wise, down to 15 overnight and a maximum temperature for Thursday only 20 degrees. Friday, even a little bit cooler. Still a chance of a shower about, most likely about the hills and southern suburbs, I think. A bit cooler overnight and during the day. 12 degrees the minimum for Friday and a maximum of 19 degrees. And it does warm up slightly over the weekend and gradually the showers will clear. Just a slight chance of a shower left for Saturday. And again, most likely about the hills and southern suburbs. 12 degrees the minimum, 22 the maximum. Sunday, mostly sunny, 25 degrees. So a bit of sunshine on the way for Sunday.
Good stuff, Simon. Thanks, you. Simon Timothy at the Weather Bureau. Let's head to Safe Bowl. Senior Constable Holly Frisbee on the line. Holly, we received that terrible confirmation a short time ago that the crash at Birdwood yesterday was, in fact, a triple fatal. What can you tell us about what we've learned about that crash?
Yeah, good morning, Dave and Will. Just before 2 o'clock yesterday, police and emergency services were called to the intersection of Warren Road after reports a truck and a Toyota sedan had collided. Tragically, 3 passengers in the sedan died at the scene. The driver of the Toyota sustained life-threatening injuries, while a 4th passenger was seriously injured. Both were taken to hospital for treatment. The driver of the truck was not physically injured and is assisting police with the investigation. Major crash investigators attended the scene to examine the circumstances surrounding the crash. Roads were closed in the area for several hours, however, have since reopened. The 3 deaths are the 24th, 25th and 26th lives lost on South Australian roads this year. And we do ask anyone who may have been witness to the incident who has not already spoken with police to call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Yeah, just terrible, Holly. Also, 3 teens have been arrested in a stolen car at Taparoo.
Yeah, that's correct. Just before 8 o'clock last night, police responded to reports of a black Mercedes being stolen from a semaphore address. 3 males were seen in the vehicle heading towards Military Road. Police searched the area but were unable to locate it. At the time, however, spotted it on Railway Terrace shortly after. The Mercedes was not pursued and was found abandoned shortly after with its engine still running. Patrol searched the area with the help of PD Bandit and located 3 suspects on Strathfield Terrace. 2 19-year-old men from Gillis Plains and Taparoo, along with a 17-year-old boy from Royal Park, were arrested and charged with illegal use of a motor vehicle. The group were bailed to appear in court at a later date.
And just finally, Holly, caught up with a drink driver at Seaford Rise.
Yeah, we certainly did. About 3 o'clock this morning, police were called to Henley Circuit to reports of a Holden crashing into a parked Mercedes. Police submitted the driver of the Holden, a 47-year-old man from Sturt, to a breath test, which returned a positive result. The man was reported for drink driving, aggravated due care and issued with a 6-month instant loss of licence notice, and he also will be summoned to appear in court at a later date.
Thank you for that, Holly. Senior Constable Holly Frisbee from SAPOL. We're getting a lot of texts from listeners up north. Carol in Newry says, good morning, guys. There's already lightning in the Barossa. Kevin in Moonta Bay says steady rain and thunder at Moonta. And Lindsay says, g'day, boys. We've had showers in Golden Grove since about 4:30 this morning. Must be close to maybe half a mil of rain since then. It's only stopped about 20 minutes ago. And Rod's Aussie favourites are a few sheep short in the top paddock and as black as a cattle dog's gut. Go on your Rod.
All this week we've been profiling terrific local South Australian businesses and success stories thanks to Brand SA. If you like your meat, you're going to like the one after 8 o'clock today, so make sure you stay listening. Thanks to Brand SA. Support local and buy SA for SA. Look for the state logo on products during your next shop.
Thanks, Will, and morning, David. At Clovelly Park, a smash on South Road near Dawes Road. She's slow going through that whole area. Modbreed truck v Stobie Pole, North East Road at Kelly Road. That's no good this morning. In fact, affecting a lot of traffic lights around that whole area. Keep that in mind. And a blackhead at Nova Gardens to look out for. Anzac Highway in Morford Road. Camera's Cudmore Terrace, Henley Beach and Trimmer Parade at Seaton. Join Health Partners today for up to 12 weeks free. Health Partners, your value-giving health insurance partner. New members only. Ends March 31. T's and C's apply. See website for full details. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
I think you call that hitting it for 6.
Time to Pixter. Around 70% of serious dental problems start in the gaps between teeth. Pixters clean those gaps like floss, only easier. Keep by your toothbrush and use daily. Have you Pixtered today?
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide Tech Guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Harvey Norman's massive March deals are on now, with savings across laptops, mobiles, gaming, fitness and more. For something simple and affordable, the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim 3 14-inch, now just $358, save $140, is perfect for everyday browsing, emails and study. If you want a bit more power, the HP 15.6-inch Ryzen 5 laptop, $898, save $400. Gives you fast performance with 16 gig of RAM, so it's great for multitasking. Or the Acer Aspire 14 AI laptop, $1,098, save $400. Really stands out with AI capability and a huge 1TB SSD. So you've got speed now, plus plenty of space and future-ready performance. It's a massive March, so hurry in now.
Check out this great offer at a Harvey Norman store near you. At Specsavers Audiology, we've screened over 8 million ears and we'll keep screening. Because when it comes to hearing care, we're a little bit obsessed. Book a free 15-minute hearing check with a Specsavers hearing expert today. If further testing is required, a fee may apply.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
7 minutes to 7, coming up after 7 o'clock this morning. We're going to be chatting with Sean Fuster. We'll go round the courts with Sean. David Kosh coming up before 8 o'clock as well. Looking forward to that. Remember, you can be part of the show by calling 822 300 or texting us, as so many have, on a range of subject matters. A few texts around from people who live in the hills talking about this notorious bit of road where we now understand this morning, quite sadly, 3 people have been killed. Someone's said to us it was actually upgraded quite recently. Interested in more information if someone could provide us to...
apparently only a year ago or something.
Yeah, a year ago. What was the nature of the upgrade? Was it about making it safer? Was it about making it more convenient?
One here from Marty saying, guys, I grew up near there. Our bus used to stop there when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. There were so many close calls. There was one really bad situation with a young girl getting off the bus and she got hit by a car. The road on the other side of the intersection from Lucky Hit Road is Martins Hill Road, which has had plenty of problems as well. Thanks for that, Marty.
5 to 7. I think everyone's wondered whether the fuel crisis in Australia at the moment has led more people to investigate and ultimately take up the potential of an electric vehicle. It makes logical sense, but is it actually happening? James Pickering from the Australian Electrical Vehicle Association joins us. James, good morning. Are we seeing more EVs get driven out of showrooms?
We're certainly hearing that from dealers and from OEM groups. So absolutely, it seems to be a significant increase in interest and buying, and in addition to that, in the used car market.
So are you saying, James, in terms of that uptick, is that something you can actually, from what you're hearing anecdotally, is that like a sort of last few weeks type phenomenon?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially since the long weekend when, for example, in South Australia was when the prices started to rise on petrol, we can see a significant uptick. So we host on our website, aeva.asn.au, EV info sheets so that people use to research before making a purchase decision. And from that week, we saw a 35% uptick in people downloading our fact sheets pretty much immediately. So it was quite a quick response.
What's the rule of thumb that you guys generally work on when it comes to what you save, say, year on year, if you switch from internal combustion to electric?
Look, it entirely depends. The average for an Australian household is spending just under $5,000 a year on liquid fuel. If you're filling up through solar off your roof, at the moment, that's pretty much free. So depending on if you change one car over, you might save a couple of thousand in fuel. And, of course, that's going up at the moment as well. So, tanks are much more expensive. So it really depends, and depends on what you're using the car for, but can be thousands.
What do you make of that piece in the Oz yesterday, James, speculating that Jim Chalmers is looking at a road user tax to bring your type of motorist into the tax-paying fold?
Well, it's an interesting one. So this is often positioned as not paying for road maintenance, but when you're seeing a pothole out in front of your house, you don't say, gee, I wish the federal government would fix that pothole. You say, gee, I wish the council would fix that pothole. So road maintenance is actually quite a complex thing. The fuel excise predominantly goes into general revenue, so it goes into federal government revenue, and then some of that comes down to road maintenance. So, number one, it's a bit of an incorrect statement to say paying their way, because EV owners generally pay their council rates, and as well as that state taxes. But I mean, when we look at it, we see that there's a real need for road tax reform in Australia. There's so many different ways that money is collected and money is distributed. So we see changes to road tax being inevitable. And we've put up basically saying, well, if you're going to make it about road maintenance, it needs to be proportionate to the damage, which is the distance by mass. And of course, that's a complex discussion. People have to travel further for work, have a higher impact, et cetera, which they do at the moment in fuel. So what we've been saying, and we put out a media release on this yesterday, is this needs to be part of a portfolio approach, not just a piecemeal approach. And really right now is probably not the time to be jumping in with new taxes, but at the same time, we acknowledge that there will be overall road tax reform over time.
James Pickering, the President of the Australian Electric Vehicle Association. Thank you.
Daryl Jacobs, the Chief Executive of the Motor Trade Association. Are you seeing a similar phenomenon to what James has mentioned, Daryl, when it comes to the take-up of EVs?
Yeah, good morning, David, Will and listeners. Look, the real data that we have at the moment, saying until February, EVs are up. EVs make up about 8% of sales in South Australia, but they definitely are up to February. But yesterday I was talking to Luke from BYD, and they're seeing a sharp increase in sales inquiries and sales of EVs. But he puts it down to three things: petrol prices going up, interest rates going up, people looking at other ways they might be able to save, and importantly, there's talk at the federal government level that the FBT may come off of EVs as of July the 1st, so that little incentive of buying an EV.
So everyone's trying to get in before it elapses.
Yeah, definitely sounds like that. And there's just a lot more choice out there too at the moment. We're seeing lots more EVs come in, part of the new vehicle efficiency standards. So, consumers have a lot of choice out there.
And they're not necessarily an expensive option these days, are they, like when they first entered the marketplace?
No. Well, you can get quite cheap ones around 30. But it was interesting overnight reading the reading the EU piece around
the free trade agreement.
Yeah, they're looking at increasing the luxury car tax up to 120 on just EVs, which is a little bit disappointing. Hopefully, we were thinking it might be on all vehicles, but that might also drive the EV market a bit further.
The luxury car tax. That's the one that's there to protect the Australian domestic car industry, isn't it?
Exactly right. A very old tax, but unfortunately, I think they can't. They need the funds.
Yes,
they want to get rid of it.
That's right. Good on you, Daryl. Daryl Jacobs, Chief Executive of the Motor Traders Association.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
Adelaide's news leader for 50 years. This is 5AA News, always Adelaide.
Partly cloudy today. We're heading for a top of 27 degrees. With the 7 o'clock news, good morning, I'm Kate Collins.
Know the signs of concussion and how to treat. Register for Physio Extra's concussion webinar, March 25 and 26 at physioextra.com.
3 teenagers have been arrested in a stolen car at Taparoo. Police responded to reports a Mercedes had been stolen from a semaphore address before spotting 3 males in the vehicle on Military Road. An hour later, the vehicle was found abandoned with its engine still running on Law Hill Court. Senior Constable Holly Frisbee says the suspects were found a short time later.
Patrol searched the area with the help of PD Bandit and located 3 suspects on Strathfield Terrace. 2 19-year-old men from Gillis Plains and Taparoo, along with a 17-year-old boy from Royal Park, were arrested and charged with illegal use of a motor vehicle.
3 people have died following a serious crash at Birdwood. Police and emergency services were called to the intersection of Warren and Lucky Hit roads yesterday afternoon after reports a truck and sedan had collided. Major crash attended the scene and the roads were closed for several hours but have since reopened. The lives lost are the 24th, 25th and 26th this year. South Australians are being urged to get their flu shot from next month. National Pharmacy's Chief Pharmacist Beck Rogers says it's important to get the shot every year to stay protected.
With the flu shot, it's really important that you do that every year because it changes every year, and so you won't be protected if you got vaccinated last year.
Israel and Iran are continuing to strike each other after Donald Trump said plans for talks with Tehran remain fluid. Iranian officials say there's been no contact with the US, although it's admitted it's been given points from the US via mediators, which are considered a precursor to official talks. While fuel supplies are still choked, Australia's announced lower standards for its diesel to help existing supplies go further. Lobby groups, businesses and even pubs are coming up with ideas to ease our petrol price pain. More from Gabrielle Hodson.
There's a push for more drivers to use ethanol, which is consistently cheaper than unleaded. The Financial Review says E10 is suitable for engines built after the year 2000. News Corp says a National Fuel Emergency Response Manual obtained under FOI suggests limiting fuel transactions to just $40. Emergency vehicles would be exempt. The ACT is pushing for free or 50-cent fares as public transport use increases nationwide. Wesfarmers, the owners of Bunnings, Kmart and Target, has suspended travel for senior staff, while Australia Post is increasing the cost of parcel deliveries. WA farmers want governments to guarantee fuel for the people who grow our food. And north of Melbourne, the Tallarook pub has swapped its Friday night meat raffle for a jerry can petrol raffle.
And sales of second-hand EVs could hit record highs this month as the global fuel crisis continues. Brendan Green from Pickles Auctions says more EVs are also coming up for sale as early adopters look to upgrade.
Which is now allowing people that can't afford a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 EV to get into one at half price. You then can still tap into fuel savings and also obviously lower maintenance costs.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Get to Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Mawson Lakes for the Outlander ES. Drive away from just $39,990.
Good morning, Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Kate. The Crows are set to make at least 3 changes for tomorrow night's clash against Geelong at home. Adelaide will be without Callum Archie with a hamstring injury, while Rory Laird has a calf concern, and Taylor Walker is set to be rested. The Cats have issues of their own, with Patrick Dangerfield set to miss with a calf injury too. Port doesn't play until Sunday. Coach Josh Carr to address the media later this morning. They're set to take on West Coast, and their players are going to bed early this week as they prepare for Sunday's match. The Adelaide Oval match will start at 9:30 Perth time, the earliest body clock adjustment players have ever had to get used to. Well, after 9 years at Liverpool, Mo Salah has announced he's leaving the Reds at the end of the season. The 33-year-old signed a 2-year deal just before the end of last season, but won't see out the remaining year of his contract. But a public falling out with manager Arne Slot seemingly accelerating his departure. The prolific striker taking to social media with an emotional goodbye message.
Leaving is never easy. You gave me the best time of my life. I will be always one of you. This club will always be my home, to me and to my family.
South Australia's cricketers will train today ahead of the Sheffield Shield final, which begins at Junction Oval against Victoria. An Olympic champion, Connor Lee, has smashed the elite pursuit national record at the National Championships, Lee claiming his 6th consecutive gold in the event. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Thank you, Tom. Now checking 5AA traffic.
At Clovelly Park, a smash on the South Road near Dawes Road with delays, plus another crash on the South Road near Cross Road. Mod Breed Truck v Stobie Pole, North East Road at Kelly Road. That's affecting traffic lights around that whole area. And Nova Garden to Blackout 2 to look out for Anzac Highway near Morford Road. Starting to build South Road Mile End with a camera today, the Esplanade at Semaphore. Looking for great value insurance? You haven't shopped around until you've tried UE. You Insured. Visit UE.com.au today or call 13UE. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
The fight against scams never stops. To defend you, Australian banks have joined forces with a major investment in new technology.
Partly cloudy for Adelaide today, a top of 27 degrees. A shower or two tomorrow, 20. 19 and cloudy for Friday. Staying grey on Saturday, cloudy and 22. And 25 the top and mostly sunny on Sunday. Right now it's 19 degrees on 5AA. Always Adelaide.
Stay informed, get involved. 5AA, always Adelaide.
It has been hard yakka.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
7 after 7, and good morning to you joining us for the very first time on this Wednesday, the 25th of March. It's always good to tune in after 7 on a Wednesday morning. Sean Fuster will join us. We'll go around the courts. Koshi on before 8 o'clock. Lots to talk about. Gather round, footy, and of course the crazy stuff going on in the markets, fuel prices, how it feeds into inflation, how the government frames a budget in this environment. We'll get into all that with Koshi very, very shortly. And just before 7:30, we'll be chatting with a national security expert, Jennifer Parker from ANU, former member of the Royal Navy as well, who has sort of carved out a niche at the moment as one of the foremost experts in talking about how you reopen the Strait of Hormuz. What does that even look like to begin an operation like that? Is it feasible? And broadly, what does Australia's supply vulnerability that has been highlighted by this crisis say about the AUKUS submarine project and its relevance going into the future? We're going to get into all that in just a moment.
Well, you'll remember a couple of years ago we did a lot of work here on 5AA about the Green family. They were the family from Scotland who arrived here in 2012. That was after Mark was headhunted by a local solar company who was seeking out his specialist skills as a sparky. He worked hard, he paid his taxes for a decade, his kids were happily going to school here, and then suddenly they found out that they were going to be deported on account of issues with their visa. Well, in the end, sanity prevailed and they were allowed to stay because they were making such an important contribution to this country. Now, another hard-working family that has migrated here from another country, in this case Italy, finds themselves in a similar position. We were contacted yesterday by one of the teachers at the school where our next guest's child attends, Luca Bonavoglia, who's been in Australia for more than a decade, has been working hard. He's set up a cafe in Croydon in Peter Malinowskis' seat that a lot of the locals love, and we have Luca on the line now. Luca, good morning, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
So what is the situation? Have you been told that there is nothing that the government can do to stop you from leaving Australia?
Okay, honestly, after all this happened, I've been called from the office of Steve Georgianis. He's moving to help me in this situation because it's been so long. And my situation has been really, really hard since the beginning for some lawyer mistakes or the system where I was working. All the things are happening in the same time. Make my visa always harder. Past the English test has been very hard as well.
Yeah.
And I've been in appeal for the last 6 years for a long time. Stuck in my situation. That means when you're in appeal, you are not permanent resident. You can't even do nothing. You can't loan. You can't have any insurance, anything.
Yeah, can't buy a house
to support my family and my situation. And that has been for a very long time. That's why And I really love this country since the beginning. And I'm honest with you. I tried my best to support the country because this country is fantastic. That's what I can say. It's a lot of opportunity for people. They want to work and they want to sacrifice their life to help others and especially the economy. And I think I will, after a long time, I will really deserve a little bit the help.
Well, you've made your life here, Luca. You've got 3 daughters, and
they were conceived here. The first 2 they were born in Italy, but just because I had any Medicare, and the costing of for my wife to have a baby here was so high, was much cheaper to go back in Italy and have a baby in Italy, and that's why we did that. But the last one has been born here 16 months ago. And thanks God it's been covered from my insurance health cover, because I've been paying health cover for the last 15 years.
And your cafe, Dolceria, people love it. A lot of people in the West.
I really love my job. That is the job I've been doing for the last 28 years. It's been a long time. It's a passion. It's no for money. I've been doing. I really love it. Wake up early in the morning, make a fresh croissant, make the people happy. That's what making me very happy.
Yeah,
that's all.
Well, Luca, hopefully the attention that you're getting will, we're not trying to sort of embarrass the government into supporting you. We hope that they just reach the conclusion, because you're clearly such a good family. Thousands and thousands of people have signed this petition through your daughter's school, and getting it into the media. This is how the public attention in these cases can make a difference. So fingers crossed with the advocacy you're getting from other MPs in South Australia, the Immigration Minister, Tony Burke, can do the right thing. Good luck to you, Luca, and we'll stay in touch on this story.
For your support. Thank you for the support of everyone, because I feel the love, and that's what we need in this world, especially now, love.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Good on you, Luca. Thank you.
Well, there's a well-trodden path on this, isn't there? That sometimes the wheels move slowly. You just hope they're moving at all, and an assessment's made on the quality of the family and the people that are living here.
See, the thing is, you look at a case like this, and it's not about asking what is this person potentially going to offer. It's about what they have already done. Now, he's employed staff, he's paid his taxes, and these people, they often do it with one hand tied behind their back. Like, from the Tysers report, this family, they've already spent like $200,000, on immigration lawyers and all of that, and they've done it at a time when they've got to pay extra to send their kids to local schools because they're not citizens. Like, there's a lot of stuff that
they're contributing a lot.
But they're just getting up every day, making coffees and biscuits and cakes for everybody who lives in the Croydon area, employing local people at the shop. Like, that's a track record of contributing. And you compare it to some of the people who rock up with, sort of no demonstrable skills, who've actually done nothing, and so, we've got to take these people. Well, okay, maybe we do in a humanitarian sense. But that's a sort of roll the dice. Hopefully they're all going to be productive.
It does feel as though the whatever the formula is, when you punch in all the variables, the computer doesn't value your contribution that you've made over the course of your life enough. It is devalued to some degree. There's something wrong with how these things get computed, because we've seen too many examples of these sorts of people.
Someone's just texted in going, let me see, ISIS brides or hardworking Italian family? I'll take the coffee shop guy. Thank you.
I think most of our listeners would too. 15 minutes after 7. Thanks for the text, 0248081395. Dion also made the point, Sushi Mango, the comedy trio that are huge on social media, posted about Luca's situation, and that would go to Sushi Mango these days is a global audience. I
don't know anything about Sushi Mango.
Oh, you'd love them. Jim would know about them. 100%. They're very.
Are they like the Raka Raka guys?
No. They're a group of Italian blokes who comedy based on Italian heritage. They opened a restaurant, actually, in Victoria recently. Really? Like a Rigi Didge restaurant. They've gotten huge, but yeah, their audience is massive. So
is
the
that
story
like that Super Wild guy? Have you ever seen him?
No.
He's very funny.
15 after 7. Let's check traffic. Come back with more in just a moment.
Morning there at Clovelly Park, a smash on South Road near Dawes Road. Very slow going there, plus another crash on South Road near Cross Road. Modbury truck v Stobie Pole, North East Road at Kelly Road. That's taken out the lights in that whole area, so take it easy through there. Those lights are all out of action. It's very slow going. And gravel at Netley getting cleaned up on Mountain Road near Pembroke Avenue. Cameras Chief Street, Brompton, and the Esplanade at Semaphore. Want luxury and performance powered by electric? Check out BYD and save thousands with drive-away deals on BYD's most popular models. But only till March 31st. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA Mornings with Graham Goodings.
Energy Minister Chris Bowen says Australians should return to the COVID practice of working from home to ease the intensifying demand for fuel. But what about workers whose jobs mean they can't work from home? Nurses, fireys, garbos, tradies. What is the breaking point?
Graham Goodings.
$3 a litre? $4? At this stage, we don't know what the top horizon is.
Weekday mornings from 9 on 5AA. Always Adelaide.
Every bathroom comes with a dark side. Mould. It sneaks into grout. But what if it had nothing to sneak into? What if you chose Mr. Wet Wool instead of tiles for your bathroom and wet areas? It costs less and there's no scrubbing grout. Because with Mr. Wet Wool, there is no grout. Just a smooth, stylish surface, easy to clean and stunning to look at. So why wouldn't you, Mr. Wet Wool? MrWetWool.com.
Imagine waking up to a to-do list that includes Ace.
Don't you dare. Fancy a dance?
Downsize and upgrade your lifestyle at a Living Choice retirement resort and swap chores for choices. Gotcha. A choice of locations to live, passions to pursue, and ways to feel young again. For a limited time, enjoy a $10,000 lifestyle package. Conditions apply.
To happy days.
Visit livingchoice.com.au.
In this cost of living mess, you know what really gets people fired up? Paying a tradie a call-out fee before they've even lifted a finger. You're already under financial pressure, and before anyone even looks at the problem, bang, $150 just to show up. That's why we like Precise.
Precise don't charge call-out fees, none, zero. They respect people's budgets. They come out, assess the job, give you the price up front. Only then do you decide if you want to go ahead. So there's no surprises, no bill shock, no mystery hours added later. That's why Adelaide trusts Precise for plumbing, electrical, hot water and AC.
So if something needs fixing but you've been holding off because you're worried about what it might cost, well, don't stress. Book a free call-out with Precise and at least know where you stand. Respectful service, upfront pricing and no call-out fees. That's Precise. Call Precise on 1300 700 200 or visit preciseservices.com.au.
For those whose pool is the main feature of their yard, Walco offer a special mesh cover to keep debris and leaves out while making your pool area look stunning all through winter. Join the great cover-up and ask Walco about their stylish new mesh pool covers. Walco.com.au.
Rosanna Mangiarelli here from 7 News. Join me and Will Goodings for Adelaide's leading news hour, 7 News, tonight at 6 o'clock.
5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Not minutes after 7 is Sushi Mango.
You hungry? Mom, you hungry? Not really. He's not hungry, Mum. All right. So where'd you end up going? To Loco. You're hungry. Just take it. I don't know what's happening right now, please. Please, for the love of God, eat food. Please, man. I said eat. Leave him alone. He's already eaten. Shut up. You come here, you got it. I'll eat. You shut up. You come here, you eat. I will. I'll eat all of it. All of it. I'll eat it. Good boy. It's something. It's very good.
Three blokes, large part of their comedy routine is reenacting what it was like turning up to their mother's places for family dinners and get-togethers and you know, religious events and so forth.
Have they done a cookbook too about nonnas?
I think they may have. Yeah. They've done a lot with regard to food. They're a big phenomenon.
Day heirs to the Joe Dolce legacy.
That's right.
That's a matter for you.
We'll be chatting with Koshi before 8 o'clock to try and tease out the latest confusing data points when it comes to how The war in Iran is affecting you here in Adelaide, Australia. Jim Chalmers in Canberra trying to piece together a budget, all the economic elements of this. But almost all of that we can trace back to a body of water, the Strait of Hormuz, that you might have heard us speak about a number of times over the course of the last few weeks. The blockading of it, the mining of it, posing all sorts of issues and giving everyone here in Australia a real rough course in the vulnerability of Australia to supply disruption of this magnitude. No one knows more about this subject than our next guest, Maritime Security Specialist at ANU, Jennifer Parker, who we want to talk to about a couple of things. Jennifer, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We thought it might be worth checking with someone who knows better than anyone else on a question that I think has probably vexed a number of our listeners, wondering how it can be that you've got this disproportionate, not disproportionate, that's the wrong term. You've got this uneven distribution of forces between the United States and Iran, and yet it seems impossible to open up this little body of water and get oil and gas and things flowing freely to the world like it normally would. What strategically makes opening the Strait of Hormuz so difficult?
Well, look, that's a fair question, although I would say that if the US wanted the Strait of Hormuz to be fully operational, they could achieve that, but they would have to divert forces from other objectives. But I'll come back to that. I guess the key point is that when it comes to maritime warfare, geography dominates. And so when you look at a picture of the Strait of Hormuz, and in fact the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, all of which are areas that ships have been attacked, so up to 21 ships have been attacked, Iran dominates that, a factor of their geography. They own the northern coast of the Arabian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman. When it particularly comes to the Strait of Hormuz, because in some areas it is so condensed geographically, so its narrowest point is only 33 kilometres across. That means that cheap weapons like uncrewed surface vessels, uncrewed aerial vehicles, harassing vessels and cruise missiles can dominate that space. And so although it's not technically true that Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz because it's not naval blockaded or anything like that, Iran's navy's been largely eradicated, what they have done through their 21 attacks on innocent seafarers is deterred ships from wanting to transit through that strait. Now, normally you'd have 138 ships going through a day, 20 to 30 tankers. Right now you've got 2, 3 or 4.
So, Jennifer, what I don't understand is, so I can't remember how long ago it was. I think from memory it was about a week ago. Donald Trump said words to the effect of, there's nothing left to bomb. He was talking about like how much military damage had been done to Iran, loss of ships, loss of missiles, silos, all of that sort of stuff. But clearly Iran still... Well, actually, no, let me rephrase that question. Does Iran still have the capacity to actually attack ships that are going through there? Or more is it that the commercial vessels that would use the area are just so spooked by things like the prospect of mines or whatever that they don't want to do it?
No, Iran still does have the capacity. And I think... without being disrespectful to the president of another state, I think you've got to take with a grain of salt everything that President Trump says. It's very clear that he has a strategy of putting confusing information out there, sometimes unintentionally, but also sometimes intentionally, because if you create chaos and nobody's quite sure what's going on, nobody can predict how you're going to respond, which when it comes to deterrence or when it comes to warfare can be negative, but also can be positive. It's very clear that the US and Israel have taken out a number of Iran's capabilities. The amount of ballistic missiles that they can fire has clearly been reduced. They are firing less than 90% of the ballistic missiles they were firing on day one. Now, 3 and a bit weeks later. They're also firing less drones. US and Israel can operate their planes freely above Iran, which means that all of Iran's, or pretty much all of Iran's, air defence capability has been taken out. A significant number of the leadership of the Iranian regime have been taken out. So they have taken out a lot of capability. But when it comes to the capability being used against merchant vessels, and again, it's actually... I feel sorry for those poor innocent seafarers that are affected. But in terms of numbers of ships, it's only 21 attacks in over 3 weeks. And again, as I said before, you'd normally have 138 ships going through there a day. But even then, with those 21 attacks, they're using things like uncrewed surface vessels, uncrewed aerial vehicles. Now, UAVs are a lot easier to build than missiles, can be built in a range of factories. The other complication is that Iran has a lot of their capabilities underground. So you need different weaponry to be able to take out capabilities underground. And I think it's clear that the US haven't really focused on taking out the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' capabilities underground along the coast that are being used to threaten ships. Now, they have, there was some reports from Central Command, who's the US command operating this campaign, that they had taken out some. But it's clear that Iran still has some capability. And that's before we start to talk about whether or not Iran has actually mined the Strait.
Jennifer, before we let you go, I just want to ask a question. I mentioned right at the start, we're sort of all getting a crash course in Australia's vulnerability to supply chain disruption at the moment. Just zooming out from this specific conflict, do you think that the lessons that we're learning at the moment reinforce the logic that underpins the pursuit of nuclear subs through AUKUS?
So, yes. Yes, I do. Now, this is probably a longer conversation. I'm actually writing a piece on this. But what we're relearning, or hopefully we are learning, hopefully we don't forget in the next news cycle once this war is complete, is that Australia is completely dependent on the supply of critical goods through the maritime domain. And so in a crisis or conflict, we need to be able to protect that. And nuclear submarines, given how quickly they can position around our maritime domain, give us an advantage. So, yes, I think it reinforces the importance of a powerful ADF, a powerful Navy, and nuclear-powered submarines.
That's really good analysis, Jennifer. I find these things hard to understand. That's one of the best explanations I've heard. Jennifer Parker, Maritime Security Specialist at the ANU National Security College. Thank you very much. That was a great explanation.
Yeah, good. I've heard Jennifer do a bit of stuff internet. She's getting used around the world at the moment, and it's just
I like people
fantastic.
who can talk about Donald Trump and do it on the one hand, on the other hand account, like who aren't barracking. Like she's saying, there's some things he does are clearly out there, but sometimes they work.
Well, and
sometimes they don't work.
Because it's nice when someone's coming from the perspective. It's not political analysis.
No,
it's defence.
Yeah, that's
we're
right.
dealing with capability. You know, these are questions of can that be blown up or can that not be blown up? It's not. It's not, social
this is
science.
Your stuff. You're right into this, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Jennifer's work. I knew she was right.
Good.
I knew she was writing that.
I can tell your face lit up when she was coming on.
I knew she was writing that piece. All right, let's go to Clearview because Rob's on the line. Morning to you, Rob.
Guys, I'm driving to work and my car ran out of fuel, and roadside assistance said it's cheaper to write the car off, so I'm stuffed.
Thank you, Rob.
That's right. So that's only $3,000. That is awesome.
Oh, dear. I'm just having a look at the fuel price at the moment. I don't know why. I just keep looking at these numbers, magically hoping I've got something good to tell people. Our sort of, for scientific consistency, our West Terrace OTR, 249.9, unleaded 91 this morning. Diesel, 299.9. It is $3 a litre. Coming up in a few moments' time, 5AA News, and then Sean Fuster as we go round the courts.
Here's an important air conditioning tip from Morford Air. Never give your teenagers control over the aircon remote. Your energy bills could go through the roof. Instead, for summer, set it around 21 degrees. It's the most energy efficient temperature. And if you turn it on early, before the teens are out of bed, your system will have less work to do, keeping your home cool all day. When it's too hot or cold to bear, reach for the Morford Air. morfordair.com.au.
Morford Air.
You can rent a little, you can rent a lot.
From Cairns to Canberra, Perth to Port Macquarie, you can rely on Red Spot to provide the perfect ride for your next holiday. We're the only Aussie family-owned and operated car rental company in airport terminals and cities all over Australia with a new fleet and 100% local Aussie service. And right now, Red Spot is giving you spot-on savings of 15% off every vehicle at every location. Book direct and save at redspot.com.au/radio. T's and C's apply.
Easter's the time of sharing, and when you buy local, you're giving more than just a treat.
Every time you choose local, you're supporting South Australian families, creating local jobs and helping communities right across the state to thrive.
And here in our state of South Australia, buying local, it's part of who we are. Every purchase helps someone you know, from a neighbour to a friend or a small business owner who gives back to the community.
So support local this Easter and buy SA for SA. Look for the state logo on products during your next shop.
So, you might think all scones taste alike. That's because you haven't experienced the world's best tasting scone, like this one. You see, nothing tastes better than the scones we share after volunteering at Meals on Wheels SA. Knowing you help put food on the table for thousands of South Australians makes it the best tasting scone you've ever had. Search volunteer at Meals on Wheels and sign up today. Delicious.
This is 5AA News. Always Adelaide.
Partly cloudy today. We're heading for a top of 27 degrees in Adelaide. With the 7:30 news, good morning. I'm Kate Collins.
Know the signs of concussion and how to treat. Register for Physio Extra's concussion webinar, March 25 and 26 at physioextra.com.
The state's road toll has climbed to 26 after a triple fatal crash at Birdwood yesterday. Senior Constable Holly Frisbee says a truck and a car collided at the intersection of Warren Road and Lucky Hit Road.
Tragically, 3 passengers in the sedan died at the scene. The driver of the Toyota sustained life-threatening injuries, while a 4th passenger was seriously injured. Both were taken to hospital for treatment. The driver of the truck was not physically injured and is assisting police with the investigation.
A drink driver's been caught at Seaford Rise after crashing into a parked car. It happened on Henley Circuit about 3 a.m. The 47-year-old man from Sturt has been reported for drink driving, aggravated driving without due care, and has lost his licence for 6 months. He'll face court at a later date. The Premier's second-term ministry will be sworn in this morning. There are 3 fresh faces joining the Malinauskas front bench: Alice Rolls, Nadia Clancy and Michael Brown. 2 are first-time MPs. They replace Zoe Bettison, Nat Cook and Andrea Michaels, who retired at the election. There's expected to be a reshuffling of the portfolios, with some of the ministers to be promoted. Labor now holds 33 seats as the count after Saturday's election continues. The ALP has won light in the Gawler area. Independent Lou Nicholson is expected to win Finnis from the Liberals, and One Nation is ahead in Hammond, MacKillop and Narunga. The Libs are hanging on in Morphett and Hyson. A government minister is dismissing suggestions a $40 fuel cap could be imposed. The measure, which would see the fuel pumps switch off when the limit is reached, features an emergency planning document. But the Environment Minister says the document was prepared in 2019. Nationals leader Matt Canavan says if it's not on the table, the government needs to outline what is.
Well, what's the plan? I mean, the government has said that this is a national crisis. And clearly there is major disruption already occurring and could get worse before it gets better.
And as the governments and industry grapple with the flow-on effects of fuel supply disruptions caused by the Middle East conflict, freight is continuing to arrive as expected. There are fears if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for longer, then Asian refineries which supply Australia, will start running low on crude oil. Ports Australia Chief Executive Mike Gallagher says, for now, we aren't seeing a major change despite the key shipping lane being shut.
The only disruptions we've really had have been brought about by weather. The cyclone up in North Queensland, for example, the impacts that it had on Townsville, those sort of things. Otherwise, everything is pretty much on track. We've had a small number of vessels, and I think it was about 6 vessels went elsewhere.
Meanwhile, budget carrier Jetstar says it will temporarily cut flights to New Zealand as a direct result of soaring jet fuel prices due to the Middle East conflict. Customers affected by the changes have been reallocated flights. And we're being encouraged to get vaccinated ahead of the cold and flu season. The Heart Foundation says vaccinations help limit the spread of common viruses, including the flu and RSV, which can cause or worsen cardiovascular disease. We're also being reminded last year's flu shot won't cover you this year, and National Pharmacy's head pharmacist Beck Rogers says it's free for those most at risk.
The highest risk people, like you talk about, those in the over 65 age cohort, under 5, and those with medical conditions, get their vaccination covered under the National Immunisation Program. So they're the ones at highest risk. Super important that they get their flu shot.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Get to Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Mawson Lakes for the Outlander ES. Drive away from just $39,990.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kate. The Crows won't have Taylor Walker playing for them this round. He's set to sit out the Geelong clash tomorrow night. The Cats will also be without Patrick Dangerfield. He's going to miss because of a calf injury. Well, the Giants are confident Tom Green will remain in Western Sydney. Tasmania is reportedly interested in luring the star midfielder on a deal topping an estimated $15 million. Football boss Jason McCartney says the club is well versed in talent being targeted with big money offers.
We're confident that Tom will continue with us, but obviously we're not immune to that. We are targeted nearly every year. Most of our talent at this stage of our club being only 15-year-old is interstate talent. We want that to change over years once we get more local talent.
Still on footy, and Carlton's Mark Pitnet is relishing his time as the number one ruck after Tom de Koning's departure to St Kilda.
Really enjoyed it. I mean, even last year, and I was sort of coming in and out of the ones and twos, just knowing that I view myself as the number one ruck in this league, and so coming back, I'm just back to where I belong rather than stepping into anything that I'm not that comfortable with.
The Blues face Melbourne on Sunday. Meantime, Scott Pendlebury will be able to wear a golden number 10 on his back if and when the Collingwood great breaks Brent Harvey's games record of 432 matches this season. In some soccer, Sydney FC has sacked coach Ufak Talay with Patrick Kisnorbo to take the reins immediately. And Liverpool forward Mo Salah has announced he'll be leaving the club at the end of the season after 9 seasons with the Reds. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Thanks, Tommy. Now checking 5AA traffic.
Morning there, right? Cloverleaf Park got a smash to look out for this morning. South Road at Dawes Road, but not causing too many delays at the moment, which is good. Do have more delays at Modbury, unfortunately. Truck taken out of Stobie Pole, that's no good. That's on North East Road at Kelly Road, also taken out lots of traffic lights around the area. And look out for some gravel getting sorted at the moment, cleaned up off Marion Road at Netley, just near Pembroke Avenue. Early morning camera, Trimmer Parade Seaton. Carpet Court's big brand sale is on now. Save on carpet, hard flooring, window furnishings and rugs, plus and double Qantas points. And soon at Carpet Court, T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
The fight against scams never stops. To defend you, Australian banks have joined forces with a major investment in new technology.
27 the top and partly cloudy for Adelaide today. A shower or two tomorrow, 20. 19 and cloudy for Friday. Staying grey on Saturday, cloudy and 22. 25 the top and mostly sunny on Sunday. Right now it's 19 degrees on 5AA, always Adelaide.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
23 to 8, big half hour ahead. Koshy shortly. Sean Fuster in a moment. Couple of big cases we're going to talk about with Sean. Always get massive reaction to stories about animal cruelty, and there was one went through our courts with the horse trainer, the equestrian, recently. We'll talk about that, and also we'll get an update on the fake nurse trial as well. The chief court reporter of the Tiser in just a moment.
There's a wonderful story on the front page of the Advertiser, and it shows how much Australia has changed in the past 100 years or less than 100 years. The story is about the Jobson family, Jess and Chris Jobson, in the cost of living squeeze. They're talking about how this family makes ends meet. And the reason they have picked the Jobson family is that the parents, Jess and Chris Jobson, have 10 children. Now, I was just reading during the news break some of the comments on the Tiser's article online, and overwhelmingly they are of the "what are these people thinking" nature. One simply says, well, choices. Others say how ridiculous it is to have such a big family in this day and age. Well, my mum's one of 9 kids. Like families of this nature, if you were editing the Adelaide Advertiser not in 2026 but in 1926, the idea that you would think it was newsworthy that you'd found a family with 10 children, they go, well, what's so interesting about that? It's funny, isn't it? Like these days, and we do know that our birth rate is in the doldrums, but a family of 10 now is like a jaw-dropping thing, whereas in the 1930s and 1940s, it was like completely passé. I wonder, of our listeners, we would have, I'm hazarding a guess, I reckon we would have listeners who are one of 10 kids, maybe even more. What's the biggest 5AA listener family, folks? 822 300
As you were talking, I just thought, I wonder how it tracks year on year, just looking at some Reserve Bank data. So post-Second World War, you're looking at average family size in Australia of about 3.6 people. Back at the turn of the century, and I'm talking about the 20th century, in the 1900, 4.5 people. Then it got to 2 in the 80s, around 2. Where is the 80s? Where do I have it?
2.8 people, and now post-COVID it's down to just under 2.5. So it has dramatically decreased.
Well, one of the big changes, obviously, in the last 100 years is contraception.
It's been a big factor. But and declining birth rates seem to follow countries where the people are more affluent.
Yeah.
That's something that's been consistent. It's happening in parts of Africa at the moment that people don't talk about.
It's happening in Indonesia.
That's right.
Getting a lot smaller.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What about Terry? Our good mate Terry in Henley Beach. He goes 1 of 9. I'm 1 of 15.
Terry,
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Keep them coming.
The
folks.
Henley Beach electorate there. No, you probably all don't live at Henley Beach, I'm guessing, Terry. No wonder Aria Bolka's got up.
It's time to go around the courts with Sean Fewster on 5AA Breakfast.
All right, let's go around the courts with Sean Fewster, Chief Court Reporter at the Times, a host of Just Lawful, the wonderful show here on 5AA, and an incredibly popular podcast. Sean, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, boys. I'm 1 of 1 in my family.
There you go.
There you go. We well and truly tanked that birth rate on our side.
Yeah, that's right.
Mind you, after having me, who can blame my parents for saying, no, that's enough?
Maybe they just think they hit the jackpot, Sean. They didn't want to go back. Hey, animal cruelty stories I mentioned right out of the 7:30 news always get a huge amount of response. People almost universally have this reaction to them with horror and disgust, and so was the case with the equestrian, the horse trainer, who was caught on camera bashing his horse. This one's been going on for a while, Sean. Just take our listeners through the resolution of this case.
So the resolution came in the Christie's Beach Magistrates Court after a trial in the Mount Barker Magistrates Court. Listeners will remember that Anthony Thomas, former equestrian, former trainer, now we have to say former trainer, was denounced in that court for being cruel, spiteful, cowardly and intemperate. He was caught on camera hitting a horse repeatedly in the head with a 17 or 18 kilo riding helmet, striking it across the face, swearing at it while holding the reins really tight because the horse couldn't get away from him while he was doing this. He claimed he was training the horse, that it was intemperate, that it had thrown him, that this was the only way to make the horse respect him. And there was expert evidence at that trial that horses can't learn respect. That's not something that's in their nature. They can only learn what pleases their owners and what doesn't please their owners and react with fear and trepidation. So when it came to sentencing, Magistrate Luke Davis called this a deliberate act of retaliation and revenge. He said that Thomas was cowardly, punitive and quite spiteful, completely at odds with his role as a trainer. And then listen to this, guys. You've displayed little insight or remorse, perversely maintaining you were merely training a difficult-to-control horse, that your actions had a positive effect on its performance. I reject any suggestion that you at any point thought 5 blows could train the horse or improve its performance through disgusting, shameful and intemperate behaviour. You were clearly not concerned with the training at the point of these sickening impacts. The footage speaks for itself. You were plainly and simply letting the horse have it.
Well, Sean, this guy clearly has got form, because there's a follow-up to that story. I think you wrote this, unless it was another one of the court reporters at the Times.
No, one of my colleagues wrote this. I know the one you're referring to.
Then subsequent to all this, footage emerged of him. He found a poor bloody echidna on his front veranda, and he's standing there chuckling away to himself, poking it with a stick while his huge dog barks at it and is trying to roll it over with its snout. What is wrong with this bloke?
Well, according to the Magistrates Court, he's not somebody that should ever own an animal ever again, despite his pleas that this would further destroy his business, which he said is already bankrupt because he's in debt to, in his words, bikey-like types. The court said you're not fit to own an animal ever again. So you're only narrowly avoiding going to jail. You're almost going inside. I'm going to suspend your sentence, but as part of that suspended sentence, you will be banned from owning animals for the rest of your life. So that ends him in terms of his ability to be a trainer. What happens to those dogs that were in the video who spent the day in the Christie's Beach Court sitting outside in the car with the windows cracked waiting for him? Who knows? That's something the RSPCA is going to have to deal with now. But it's good to know that at least he won't be able to own animals anymore. But as you say, David, the evidence seems to suggest that he just should be nowhere near them at all.
Unbelievable. Hey, Sean, before we let you go, what's the state of play with this the fake nurse story that we've been following for some time?
Oh boy, that got strange. So this is Harpreet Kaur, who is a qualified nurse in her native India. She's highly skilled, highly trained, came to Australia and tried to work and was found to be working with a faked nursing registration certificate. What we found out in court is that not only was that certificate faked, but it was apparently faked by what the court referred to as a shadowy internet guru, to whom Miss Kaur paid $10,000 to get her certification. She said she was scammed by this guy, that she was convinced by him that this was a completely legitimate way of her getting her nursing certificate, and she had no idea that it was false. The magistrate came back after hearing evidence at trial and said, you were fully aware of what you were doing. You knew this wasn't legit, and part of the reason you knew it was legit was the fact that merely looking at the document shows it to be false. But on the other hand, you'd also failed your nursing registration in Australia 3 times before you did this. So you knew what you were doing. I find you were in cahoots, that was his word, cahoots with this shadowy internet guru, and found her guilty of acting as a nurse with false registration. So now she's up for sentencing, which could include jail time.
Wow.
Wow.
Look forward to the conclusion of that one as well, Sean. Thank you. Sean Fuchs, the chief court reporter at The Advertiser and host of the excellent Just Lawful podcast that you can catch through 5AA and indeed by listening to 5AA.
Greg speaks for a lot of people here. He says, I come from a family and we have ties to the racing community, and I got to say, you never treat horses like that. Absolutely. God, that echidna video, I was just watching it. I can't even talk about it on air because I don't know what I'm going to say. You'd need the dump button, Will. A lot of interesting thoughts from people on the birth rate. Michael in Seaton says, guys, the average birth rate in Australia in 2024 was between 1.48 to 1.5 children per woman. 2.1 is needed for a steady population. Here's a bold thing to say in the current political climate. If it wasn't for immigration, Australia's population would steadily be getting smaller and smaller.
Which is why, to put some science on this subject, One Nation advocate for 130,000 visas a year. Like, if you want to sustain a retired population that's greater in size than the working population, well, you can say goodbye to pensions and you can say goodbye to public health and all that kind of stuff.
Because there won't be any money for it.
If there's not working people paying taxes. So,
yeah,
you can't have zero.
And us white folks are all getting older, so there's going to be less of us in 30 years with our small families paying taxes because we will have stopped working. So who's going to be?
This is the reality of it.
The young, fit people.
Yeah. This is why, and I think in this segment, at this sort of time, I've said before, that I think the Japanese political argument about this from the right winger who won there, Sane Takeichi, was right on. We're not talking about no immigration. It's the right type of immigration. It's people like our guest at 7 o'clock, running businesses and paying taxes and not committing crimes and generally just really wanting to be here.
Yeah,
like
totally.
You don't not want those people. In fact, we actually really need those people.
Yeah, yeah. Tony and Paraka, my grandmother was one of 9. My grandfather was the youngest of 8 in 1922. He was always late to school, and the school was across the road. And Dan says there was no TV in the 1930s and 40s, hence big families. Was that the reason? I don't know. I mean, we've got TV now, and you're not going to go and, you and your partner.
I mean, TV has improved, but how good is it?
Look, I'd love to, but sadly, My Kitchen Rules is on.
Isn't it?
Is there any show on TV that's so good that you'd forego the pleasures of the flesh on account of it?
Don't the kids literally say Netflix and chill these days? Isn't that the sort of... I mean, in the absence of Netflix, the birth rate might be 0 now in 2026. All right, let's check traffic.
Good morning here on Walkley Heights. A smash on Bridge Road near South Terrace to look out for today. Modbury, still sorting out a truck for Stobie Pole this morning. Northeast Road at Kelly Road, taking out a whole bunch of lights across that whole area. Take it really easy on the drive-in through there this morning. And got gravel getting cleaned up at the moment at Netley, Marion Road near Pembroke Avenue. Cameras, Chief Street, Brompton, and got one setting up right now. Lady Gullery Drive at Largs North. Say hola to Oporto's new Portuguese crispy burger, coated in Portuguese spices with crunchy coleslaw and Oporto's signature garlic and barbecue sauces. At Oporto for a limited time. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Hi, I'm Bronte Manuel from Toop and Toop. We've been helping Adelaide buyers and sellers for over 40 years. That's why so many South Australians look to us for real estate advice. Right now, in our Toot Vault, we're working with 8,794 buyers in Norwood, 7,809 in Rose Park and 7,751 in Toorak Gardens, all searching for their perfect property in these specific locations. If you're thinking of selling, visit toop.com.au.
If you're after legendary reliability and safety,
Get a Toyota forklift.
yep, Toyota is still the world's #1 forklift brand, famous across just about every industry for their reliability and safety. That's the Toyota Forklift Advantage. And with great electric options and branches all over the country, find the right Toyota forklift for you at toyotamaterialhandling.com.au.
Don't just get a forklift. Get a Toyota forklift.
Running a business is hard enough without chasing stuff. That's where Indeed comes in. With Indeed, you can easily find the right people for your team. You can post jobs, and this is the best part, you pay only when your budget allows.
And best of all, there's flexible pricing. That means Indeed has a pay-as-you-go system with no locked-in long-term expensive contracts. Businesses are loving this. Head to Indeed.com/200 for a $200 credit to make your next hire easier. T's and C's apply, so check them out today. Go to the website, Indeed.com/200.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide Tech Guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Harvey Norman's massive March deals are on now, with savings across laptops, mobiles, gaming, fitness and more. For something simple and affordable, the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim 3 14-inch, now just $358, save $140, is perfect for everyday browsing, emails and study. If you want a bit more power, the HP 15.6-inch Ryzen 5 laptop, $898, save $400, gives you fast performance with 16 gig of RAM, so it's great for multitasking. Or the Acer Aspire 14 AI laptop, $1,098, save $400. Really stands out with AI capability and a huge 1TB SSD. So you've got speed now, plus plenty of space and future-ready performance. It's a massive March, so hurry in now.
Check out this great offer at a Harvey Norman store near you. 5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Eight minutes to 7.
And they could never tear us apart.
David Kosh on 5AA Breakfast.
So much to talk about with Koshy. Where do we start? Koshy, good morning to you.
Morning, Jen.
Let's start with a pretty ominous piece that is in the Oz this morning, Koshy. The Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, spoke with business leaders yesterday and laid out a case whereby the economic impacts on Australia of the war in Iran could surpass or rival COVID and the GFC. Does that sound about right to you, or is that the Treasurer preparing Australians for the worst of worst case scenarios?
I think it's a combination. He is being realistic. Yesterday, the ANZ Roy Morgan consumer confidence figures came out, and they just measured consumer confidence in the last week. It is now down to levels which we haven't seen since 1973, the last global oil shock, would you believe? Last week, after the Reserve Bank increased interest rates, at this time, we were discussing the possibility that, hey, with rising interest rates and rising petrol prices, there is the possibility of crushing Australian households, and that could send us into an economic recession. Well, I think all the figures are starting to show that could happen if this crisis continues and oil stays where it is and feeding into inflation. So it's a time to be really cautious.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure why the 100 business leaders get the luxury of the behind closed doors briefing. Maybe it's at the stage where sort of address to the nation so that the public's brought along for the ride might be a good idea, Kochi.
And also what they're going to do about it.
Yeah.
Yes, things are pretty grim at the moment, and it's a combination of factors. Like if the Middle East crisis gets solved in the next week or then things slowly come back to normal. They won't come back to normal immediately, but they'll slowly come back to normal if that's a chance. But it's that fear of the unknown that I think these figures are reflecting, and I think they reflect, the three of us as well. Everyone talks about the economy as this inanimate object, but basically it reflects you and me and our neighbours and our brothers and sisters and how we're all feeling, and that impacts whether we go to a restaurant, whether we buy a new fridge, and support all the businesses that depend on that cash.
Hey, Kosh, you were lightening the mood earlier, having a bit of fun talking about how Gather Round is going to work when Tassie's got a side in the comp, meaning that there's going to be one team that will have to miss out on playing. Who do you think it should be? Which team? Well, or would you, have you got a because you're a left field guy? Have you got a left field solution?
I think the solution for me, and putting my South Australian tourism and state hat on, that there should be an auction for slots and Gather Round.
Oh,
and
you're talking.
We use it as a fundraiser for the state, and it's.
Well, Koshy, if that's the case, North Melbourne's never coming.
well, it's all about the cash. It might be worth it for them.
True.
It might.
Yeah.
It might be a whole lot worse for them if they miss out.
Fair.
So it is the best football tournament in the country. So, yes, you pay for the privilege, and that could offset the cost.
See, my idea is that the SANFL premiers play the bottom-ranked AFL side at their home ground. So it would mean this year it would be Sturt at home at Unley playing Essendon.
That would... There's a bit of merit in that, I reckon. A lot of merit. We need all the creativity to it, I suppose, with the election resolved and only a couple of weeks to gather around, which is shaping up to be really good. The negotiations for an extension on it will hopefully start pretty soon.
Is there a concern about this, and with your tourism cap on at the moment, Koshy, as well, other events that draw people to South Australia and maybe get out to the regions with the price of fuel at the moment being impacted?
Yep. Can I just put a message out to South Australians? This Easter, yes, petrol prices have gone up on average $30 a tank. If you're going to your if you're going down south, if you're going to the mid-north, that'll take a tank of petrol. Extra $30 coming back, $60. Don't cancel if you've made a booking. A lot of tourism and travel operators depend on Easter before we get into winter. There are quite a few cancellations coming through, so it's a great time if you've never been able to get in over Easter to a particular spot. Now could be the chance to ring up and see if there's a late cancellation. We all need a break. We all need to reconnect with families. I know we used to, as a kid, our tradition was going to Port Wollonga to the camping ground down there with the cousins and stuff like that. You can't put a value on that, and it's an extra $60 in petrol. So, don't cancel. Keep going through with it, and if you want to get into a spot you've never been able to get into, because a lot of South Australian businesses are depending on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Good on you, Dave. We'll catch up soon. David Kosh, Port Chairman and Compare the Market Economic Director.
From the Port Chairman to our Alberton Ambassador, Dave. Morning, Dave.
Yes, morning, boys. Hey, no one needs to miss out for Gather Round. Just play it like a lightning carnival where you play 2 games a day. You have 6 games at a ground. You got the dads out on the ground telling everyone to clear out and make space. Mum's cutting the oranges. Take it back to the original good old days.
Back to grassroots.
I like it.
I could get behind that gather round. That sounds excellent.
And it starts with everyone running around like headless chooks going, which side of the oval are we playing
Which
on?
way are we kicking?
That's right.
G'day, Alan Gray here. Speaking mechanic to mechanic, we all know four-wheel drive safety starts with how well a vehicle handles and stops. Too often we see four-wheel drive setting off on the big family getaway, overloaded and underprepared. It's time to get Terrain Tamer ready with the right stopping power. For safety's sake, Terrain Tamer have loads of upgraded braking solutions, including larger calipers, heavy-duty pads, dual brake boosters, rotors and braided brake lines. To find out more, go to terraintamer.com.
Informing Adelaide for 50 years. This is 5AA News. Always Adelaide.
Partly cloudy today, a top of 27 degrees. With the 8 o'clock news, good morning, I'm Kate Collins.
Know the signs of concussion and how to treat. Register for Physio Extra's concussion webinar, March 25 and 26 at physioextra.com.
3 people have died following a serious crash at Birdwood. Police and emergency services were called to the intersection of Warren and Lucky Hit Road yesterday afternoon after reports a truck and sedan had collided. Hayden Nelson from 7 News says the road has a tragic history.
There has been a handful of lives lost here, at least in the past few years, and you have to think that this road, going back many more years than that, other lives have been lost. We know that young children lost their lives at this road, so this is just another tragedy to occur on this stretch of road.
The driver of the sedan suffered life-threatening injuries. A 4th person was also seriously injured. The lives lost are the 24th, 25th and 26th this year. A black Mercedes was stolen from Semaphore last night and taken on a joyride. It was later found dumped on Law Hill Court at Taparoo with its engine still running. Patrols searched the area with police dog Bandit and found 3 suspects walking along Strathfield Terrace. 2 19-year-old men and a 17-year-old boy have been arrested and charged with illegal use of a motor vehicle. And a driver has lost his licence after being caught drink driving at Seaford Rise this morning. Senior Constable Holly Frisbee says it followed an early morning crash.
Police were called to Henley Circuit to reports of a Holden crashing into a parked Mercedes. Police submitted the driver of the Holden, a 47-year-old man from Sturt, to a breath test, which returned a positive result. The man was reported for drink driving, aggravated due care and issued with a 6-month instant loss of licence notice, and he also will be summoned to appear in court at a later date.
There are concerns fuel rationing might be introduced as the fuel crisis escalates due to the conflict in the Middle East. The federal government says it's not planning on implementing a $40 fuel cap. CEO of Australasian Convenience and Petroleum Marketers Association, Rowan Lee, doesn't think we need the drastic measure.
There's plenty of fuel in the system. The ships are still coming in. The government's released over 700 billion litres of fuel, which we had in reserve. So, no, I don't see any rationing in the immediate horizon. Mid-April is going to be an interesting time to see what happens there. But, I mean, the longer the conflict goes on, the higher the risk will be.
Another challenge for Australia's wine industry. Vince Goccello from Di Bortoli says they're starting to feel the pinch from rising diesel and petrol prices. They're also juggling with a glut of wine, a hangover from the tariffs battle with China.
But that's happened not only here in Australia, but in most of the most popular wine-growing countries. Europe, for example, Spain, Italy, France are in the same boat. So there's a lot of wine about and consumption is down. So it is a challenging market.
The federal government denies farmers have been shortchanged as a result of the free trade deal with Europe. Beef and lamb producers claim they'll only be able to export a marginal amount of extra stock. But Trade Minister Don Farrell has told the ABC the agreement will see the agricultural sector benefit.
95% of Australian industry supports this agreement. I'm asking the cattle industry to come on board. If we can't demonstrate to the rest of the world that Australia is capable of negotiating free and fair trade agreements, then we've got a big problem in this country.
Married at First Sight dating coach Mel Schilling is being remembered as a fighter. The reality TV star has passed away at the age of 54 following a 2-year battle with cancer. Close friend and MAFS co-star John Aikens says she hung in there until the very end.
No, she's a huge loss, and sometimes it's hard to breathe, just thinking about her.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Get to Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Mawson Lakes for the Outlander ES. Drive away from just $39,990.
Hello, Tom Wren.
And hello to you as well, Kate. Adelaide's players will train in just over an hour's time before heading to Melbourne later today. That's ahead of tomorrow night's match against Geelong. The Crows will name their side tonight and are set to make several changes, with Rory Laird and Callum Archie out injured while Taylor Walker's being rested. The Cats will also be without Paddy Dangerfield with a calf complaint. Well, West Coast players are going to bed early this week as they face an obscure obstacle for Sunday's match against Port Adelaide. The Adelaide Oval game starts at 9:30 in the morning Perth time, and that's the earliest body clock adjustment players have had to adjust to since their junior days. Still on footy, rising Carlton star Jagger Smith has signed a 3-year contract extension worth more than $700,000 a season. He's played just 2 AFL games. And it's been revealed former Essendon assistant coach Daniel Giansiracusa left the club as he was told he needed to be at a top club in order to get a senior coaching job. The Dogs' great is now an assistant at Hawthorn after their prelim final exit last year. Bombers legend James Hird telling Nine's Footy Classified it's hard to see his former club struggling to attract experienced coaches.
I think it breaks your heart to see the way that we're losing games and the way that the supporters are having to go to the games and we're losing. But if the soft cap is the same for every club, where's Essendon spending its soft cap if it can't attract, higher quality or more experienced coaches?
And the Sandful will launch its season in the city a little later this morning. Coaches and captains will be in attendance, including reigning premiership coach Marty Mattner, as well as his premiership captain for Sturt, Tom Lewis. The Adelaide 36ers will have a light training session today ahead of Friday's Game 2 against the Sydney Kings in their grand final series. The Sixers lost Game 1 by a whopping 44 points. And in some soccer, Liverpool legend Mo Salah has announced he'll be leaving the club at the end of the season. The 33-year-old has notched up 435 appearances and is recognised as one of the club's all-time greats. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Thank you, Rennie. Now checking 5AA traffic.
Morning there. Smashed the look car for Door Park today. She's on Dawes Road near South Road, causing delays at that intersection. Also got big delays at Modbury today. Truck v Stobie Pole, that's always pretty messy. North East Road at Kelly Road, taking out the lights in a whole bunch of those intersections around that area, so avoid it if you can. And still sorting out some gravel on a road at Marion. That's on Marion Road at Pembroke Avenue. Camera, Cheap Street, Brompton. Every minute of every day, a child is admitted to hospital. Help make it a happier place with a $30 donation to the Starlight Foundation every month. Donate today at starlight.org.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
The fight against scams never stops. To defend you, Australian banks have joined forces with a major investment in new technology.
Partly cloudy for Adelaide today, a top of 27 degrees. A shower or two tomorrow, 20. 19 and cloudy for Friday. Staying grey on Saturday, cloudy and 22. 25 the top and mostly sunny on Sunday. Right now it's 20 degrees on 5AA. Always Adelaide.
Hi, Daniel Talley here, General Manager of Home. That's HAUME. Put simply, we buy homes. We don't charge fees. There's no advertising costs or commissions. None of that. We just make the process of selling your home easy. So if you're looking to downsize and have a home built before the 90s, we'll be able to help you save time, money and the effort it takes to sell. Thinking of downsizing? Visit home.com.au. That's HAUME.com.au.
South Australia, it's time to gather round. The 2026 AFL Gather Round. A festival of footy returns to our backyard from Thursday, April 9 to Sunday, April 12. Gather your mates and gather your family for a massive week of footy, food and festival fun. From Adelaide Oval right through to the Barossa, get in on it. Tickets on sale now. Tickets and more info at gatherround.afl.
Hi there, Brett Ibbott here for Mawson Lakes Mazda. They're kicking off the year with a big one. All 2025 plate Mazdas are priced to clear. Plus, a massive range of low-kilometre demos that must be cleared as well. Take a look at their extensive range of models and colours. No gimmicks, no fuss. Just the best price and the best customer support for you and your shiny new Mazda. The 2025 plate clearance. On now at Mawson Lakes Mazda. Salisbury Highway, a short drive from the city.
In Adelaide and across South Australia, this is 5AA, always Adelaide.
Gather round. How about that?
5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
9 minutes after 8, breaking 8 coming up in just a moment. Also, this half hour, we're going to be shining a light on terrific South Australian business. We love talking to butchers, and we're going to be doing precisely that with the great people at Merino Fine Foods in just a moment. And you know, when thanks to Brand SA we talk with the business, it means there'll be a giveaway. So make sure you are listening to that in the next 10 minutes or so. A lot of good questions and texts have come through on the text line in the last 30 minutes on a range of subjects from the birth rate to the cost of a road trip holiday, given the fuel price at the moment. We'll get to all that very shortly. 0480 08 1395. Some good, thoughtful texts have come through.
Well, I got a text earlier this morning from Carlos from the Inman Valley, who you all now know is a significant political figure, soon to be an MLC in South Australia for his One Nation party. But he took a picture this morning of, I presume it was down south, Victor Valley. He was filling up his ute, $2.25 and 49 cents a litre. And he said, we've just added $15K to our fuel bill a year. That goes straight onto the build cost because he is a home builder. Housing's just got more expensive. Yep. I've had to give some extra money to the apprentices because they can't afford the extra to get to work. And this is how it's playing out. And it's something that is on our next guest's mind this morning. Rebecca Sharkey, the independent member for the federal seat of Mayo. Beck, good morning. And thanks for your time. Now, you have called on the federal government to urgently suspend Australia's fuel excise for the next 60 days. It's a good idea, I reckon, because, you know, people are being clobbered.
Well, they are. And look, I think it's fair to say that we are in a bit of an emergency with fuel prices. Not only is it affecting every person that fills up at the Bowser, it also has an ongoing cost, you know, an uplift of cost for everything. Because fuel really is the determinant that addresses inflation. So yesterday afternoon, I received an email from Australia Post. They're lifting the cost of their courier services. You think of the cost of food, everything getting to market, everything getting to the supermarket. So we really need an emergency fix. I think that this is a universally applied relief. I think the government should be able to afford this for 60 days and really hopefully by then we will have some certainty over, you know, what's happening in Iran and what the future potentially looks like. I've seen prices of up to $3 a litre for diesel. I mean, there's a separate issue as far as fuel availability and service stations running out. And that's certainly something that I think successive governments have failed at and something that I can't even remember how many times I've asked questions or raised it in the Parliament around us not having 90 days worth of fuel on our soil, as we're required to do under the International Energy Agency Treaty. I think it's reported we're the only member country that's not compliant with that. But if we can immediately stop that excise, which is over 52 cents out of every litre. And don't forget, there's GST paid on top of that excise as well.
So the government's actually making heaps more money through GST revenue at the moment.
Lots more money. But the thing is this is going to have a huge impact on inflation if we don't get fuel prices under control. And what does that mean? Well, then, you know, the only lever to really reduce inflation that the Reserve Bank has or certainly uses is to lift interest rates. And this all feels very early 1990s to me. And I think that this would be an immediate measure that the government could pull that would have a real positive impact for people. It still makes fuel expensive, far more expensive than it should be, but it will have some immediate relief. I was really surprised that the Treasurer said it wasn't something that they'd turn their mind to. To me, it just seems logical. The government today is introducing a couple of bills. One of them is to provide assistance to truck drivers who are doing that home delivery with supermarkets. But to me, that's sort of, a bit of a whack-a-mole approach that, okay, we're going over here to those truck drivers or we're doing, different measures. This would have a universal application that will help households, businesses, and ultimately the nation.
What sort of feedback are you getting from your electorate back? Obviously, you've got a lot of people on the land. We've got a lot of fruit growers as well in the hills who are very transport reliant. It must be affecting a lot of different businesses.
It's affecting everybody that gets in their car that has to drive to work every day. Because let's not forget, if you live in Norwood or somewhere, in a city, you can get on that bus or that tram or even train. But we just don't have that public transport infrastructure across regional Australia. And so, we have no choice but to put fuel in our cars and drive to work to get to work. So it is hurting everybody. The government did point to cost of living measures that they're delivering this year, such as the tax cut. But when we had a look at those tax cuts, I mean, yes, it's welcome, but if you're on $79,000 a year, it's only $268 extra, and you're not getting that in your pocket today. This would have an immediate impact on people's bills today. And truly, even before this Iran crisis started, talking with families, talking with pensioners, people are hurting so badly. They're putting food back on the shelves. They're trying to make do. We now have 1 in 3 children in Australia going to school with not enough in their lunchbox. We are as a nation, I think, in a worse way today than what we were 20 years ago. There is a lot we need to fix. This is something the government could do immediately that could have, could help families. And going back to the government mentioned their tax cuts. The pensioners aren't getting that tax cut. People who are looking for a job aren't getting that tax cut. Yeah. So that's not a universal application, whereas this would be.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. And as you say, it is something that we think the Treasurer should turn his mind to. Rebecca Sharkey, the federal member for Mayo, thank you for joining us this morning. What's so clear too, and Koshi made the comment before about, the extra cost of going away for a holiday, and obviously, in his role, it's his job to advocate for South Australia's tourist sector. But there's a lot of people who are just saying, I simply cannot afford it. Mm. And this is where I think one of the hugely important lessons out of Saturday night, and I know that immigration is a big part of the rise of One Nation and people's views about that, and they're entitled to draw their own conclusions. But there's also a sense among poor people that no one is going into bat for them. Mm. And it's a huge driver of support for parties like One Nation. And, we talked yesterday about support for One Nation, the Dave Tanner piece where he crunched the numbers in The Australian, at its absolute highest in places where people are earning less than $800 a week. And if you're earning less than $800 a week, it's not a question of paying extra to go away on a holiday. You're not even thinking about going on a holiday. Like, you're not thinking about doing anything.
That's right.
Other than trying to survive and pay your rent.
The hard-headed economic case is that, and a lot of economists are warning against cutting the fuel excise because they're saying it might actually add to inflationary problems. And this is the thing. This is why governments are really bad at dealing with inflation, because you've got to say a lot of stuff that no one wants to hear. Like, maybe you can't afford to go on that holiday. Mm. Like that. I'm serious. Yeah, and you know what you say to me? And people will lose their jobs. And the RBA will say, not publicly, well, that's kind of what needs to happen, right? Mm. This is the really difficult stuff that underpins all of this, that because politicians are answerable to the public and we've got the news, no one wants to say any of this stuff, right?
Well, the alternative, though, is full-throttled honesty along the lines of a Keating saying this is the recession Australia had to have.
Totally.
Which was probably quite right at the time.
Let's not forget something. Inflation was going up before the war in Iran, And up until this most recent post-COVID inflationary event in Australia, big incidents of explosive inflation were only ever stopped by recession. That's how it always played out. And this time we heard this language that the RBA used, the narrow path. We're going to tread the narrow path where we're not going to get rates too high that jobs go and the country gets put into recession. We think we can manage it, get back to the target band without having to do that. You know, the Goldilocks event. Maybe that didn't work. And now it's been exacerbated by the war in Iran. It was already heading in the wrong direction because we didn't take the hard medicine. And look,
and then Iran came.
I don't take any joy in saying any of that.
No,
but that's what a lot of the economists would say in reaction to things like the fuel excise. And the nasty thing about inflation is when you see everything goes up by 4%, 2%, 3%, whatever it might well be, they don't come back down. When it goes back to the target band, it's just going up by a rate that's lower than it has been in the past. And that's everyone's wages decreasing. That's everyone's ability to spend money decreasing. Because it nibbles, we don't think of it like a petrol pump.
Don't you think, though, the sad reality of politics, though, is political history shows us that honesty is not always the best policy. And one of the most memorable moments of that was when Jimmy Carter, famous one-termer in the US, during the oil shock of the 70s, he did an address to the nation where people were saying that they were too cold to put their heaters on.
That's right.
And he said, well, what people should do is wear a sweater.
That's exactly right.
And everyone just went, well, up yours.
It's so hard, if not impossible, to talk about those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth entering into the conversation why I think the federal government might be at this point in time hesitant to do fuel excise and why you probably don't have other major parties banging down the door saying it's a good idea yet. It may well get there, and if the war keeps going on, it will definitely get there, but it's just part of the conversation. Let's check traffic. We're going to shine a light on the wonderful Merino Fine Foods on the other side of this break, and there'll be a chance for you to win a fantastic prize as well, all thanks to Brand SA.
Morning there at Walkley Heights, a smash getting sorted at Bridge Road near South Terrace, Modbury, Truck v Stobie, Pole North East Road at Kelly Road. It's taken up the power at lots of intersections and the lights, so take it easy around that whole area. And got gravel getting sorted at the moment at Netley. It's fallen off the back of a truck, Marion Road near Pembroke Avenue. Busy South Road, Mile End with a camera right now, Chief Street at Brompton. Adventures await with the Mercedes-Benz GLC 200 Avant-Garde Edition. 89,490 drive away at Mercedes-Benz Adelaide and Unlead. T's and C's apply. MVD 298959. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
The 5AA Sports Show. Rowie and Timmy G.
Geelong in Geelong haven't won there for 23 years.
Is that right?
Oh, it's amazing.
2003. They've lost their last 14 visits to Cardinia Park.
Well, they certainly haven't done you any favours with the fixture, making sure you got a 6-day break and they had a bye.
Adelaide's only local sports show.
Yeah, 12-day break.
Yeah, good luck with that.
All right.
The 5AA Sports Show. Weekday afternoons from 4 on 5AA. Always Adelaide.
A smashed or damaged windscreen can happen in a heartbeat, but it does get worse if you don't go to your local Complete Windscreens to get it fixed. You can be waiting weeks, and look, that's not on. Complete Windscreens has windscreens and glass for all makes and models in stock right now with 15 technicians standing by to get you back on the road. You don't need to wait. Tell your insurance company you want Complete Windscreens on the job, completewindscreens.com.au. Look for the big red koala.
Imagine waking up to a to-do list that includes ACE.
Don't you dare. Fancy a dance?
Downsize and upgrade your lifestyle at a Living Choice retirement resort and swap chores for choices.
Gotcha.
A choice of locations to live, passions to pursue, and ways to feel young again. For a limited time, enjoy a $10,000 lifestyle package. Conditions apply.
To happy days.
Visit livingchoice.com.au.
The countdown to Easter is on, and Samtest Seafood's pre-Easter catalogue sale is in full swing. If you want the best choice for your Easter table, get in now. Check your letterbox for the catalogue or head to the Samtest Seafood website. Right now, there's a huge range of $15 a kilo seafood deals. How good is that? We've just been talking about inflation. Well, Samtest didn't get the memo. It's still 4 kilos for $60. Atlantic salmon, ocean flathead, South Aussie king prawns and more.
Plus exclusive mix and match freezer deals with over 20 varieties to choose from. And of course, Samtas is the home of the famous 4 kilos of premium seafood for just $60.
How good's this? The Easter table winner, large Australian barramundi fillet portion, skin on, 1 kilo packs, just $27.99, or 2 kilos for only $49.99.
And don't forget, how could anyone forget, the $15 a kilo seafood specials in the pre-Easter catalogue only at Samtas. Factory direct seafood, open 7 days with free on-site parking.
See you there at Samtas. Check the catalogue, beat the Easter rush. Samtas Seafoods, 201 Richmond Road, Richmond.
Here at FIVEAA, we're all about supporting local. Head to the Excelsior Hotel, where kids eat free every weekend. The Excelsior Hotel, 110 Coghlan Street, Brompton. Feels like coming home, but better.
Rosanna Mangiarelli here from 7 News. Join me and Will Goodings for Adelaide's leading news hour, 7 News, tonight at 6 o'clock.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
25 minutes after 8, all thanks to Brand SA. Support local and buy SA for SA. Look for the state logo on products during your next stop. We are talking to some of the great iconic South Australian businesses and learning a bit more about them, and hopefully in the process giving you some inspiration as we head into Easter. And this morning, this is this business that absolutely needs no introduction. Merino Fine Foods. Ricardo Merino joins us on 5AA Breakfast. Good morning, Ricardo.
Good morning. How are you today?
We're good, thanks, Ricardo. I've got to say, it's an absolute pleasure to be singing the praises of your business, because I've got to say, Merino's in the Central Market is just one of the absolute pinnacle butcher shops in South Australia.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So how long have you guys been there?
So the store's been in the Merino family since 1975. Prior to that, it was still an Italian-style continental butcher, but my grandfather bought it in 75, and we've kept it going since then, so over 50 years now.
And how long's it been at the market?
Since then.
So it started at the market. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's correct, yes.
And I think the thing is, like, if you think about, like, the Italian butchery, you know, like, there's so many amazing dishes, like the big Florentine beef steaks where you do the whole massive steak, but then all the beautiful, soft sort of veal dishes, vitello tonato. Like, you walk in, or the polpette, you've got all of that stuff there. It's just an amazing cabinet to look at.
I appreciate that. We've stuck true to our roots over the years, and aside from those sort of more common lines that you mentioned, over the years we've even educated customers on particular traditional things. Porchetta now is one of the things that everybody knows about, but you go back 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't as well known. And I remember standing behind the counter as a kid and grandfather constantly having to sort of spruik these new interesting things that he'd made to customers. But times have changed, you know, people travel a lot more now. We're very fortunate in the Adelaide Central Market to have very good, well-travelled clients, and they understand what we're trying to do. So, yeah, it's fantastic.
It's changed a lot, hasn't it? Because, like, you know, my parents' generation, like, spaghetti bolognese in the 1960s was probably seen as, like, a really quite experimental dish. Like, if you were serving spaghetti bolognese, people would go, wow, this is like, you know, this is pretty flash. But we've become way more educated, haven't we?
Oh, definitely. And more ambitious. Like, people are willing to try new things now. We're living in a good time as far as food and cuisine goes. And it's exciting for us as producers because we can try new things, and people are more willing to give it a crack now. So, yeah, it's a good time. I think it would have been a lot harder back in the day with, like, the first migrants trying to spruik their new products.
Yeah, and people were like, what on earth is that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, well, Ricardo, congratulations. And so important, like, you know, the role of family. Italians, such family-minded people, but the origins of your business is part of the great sort of story of immigration to Australia. And we appreciate you coming on, mate.
No, I appreciate you having us. And we're going to keep striving to perfect what we do. We now make a full range of small goods that we send into state, which has just been possible because we're in the Adelaide Central Market. It's such a good hub, and it's given us so much exposure. So, yeah, the whole support we get from the SA branding and the central market's just fantastic, and it really helps businesses like ours just do well.
Yeah, no. And we should also throw in for those of our listeners who've never actually been into your store, it also doubles as a bit of a mini Italian supermarket with all the oils and the, different preserves and everything. Ricardo Marino from Marino Fine Foods, thanks for joining us this morning, mate.
And we've got a Merino meat and food gift basket to give away as well to the first person who calls through an 8223 0055, and it contains some of those wonderful goods, things like pasta and chili oil and biscotti and olives, and there's a whole stack of stuff in there that you'll find. 8223 0055 is the number.
Time to Pixter. Around 70% of serious dental problems start in the gaps between teeth. Pixters clean those gaps like floss, only easier. Keep by your toothbrush and use daily. Have you Pixtered today?
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head to 5AA on Facebook or YouTube.
This is 5AA News. Always Adelaide.
Partly cloudy today. We're heading for a top of 27 degrees in Adelaide. With the 8:30 news, good morning. I'm Kate Collins.
Know the signs of concussion and how to treat. Register for Physio Extra's concussion webinar, March 25 and 26 at physioextra.com.
Iran has reportedly agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz to non-hostile vessels. The offer has been made to countries registered with the International Maritime Organization. The Wall Street Journal is reporting the Pentagon is planning to send 3,000 soldiers from the elite 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East, and it's not ruling out boots on the ground in Iran. The government maintains there's no plan to introduce a $40 cap on the amount of fuel motorists can purchase at the Bowser. The ongoing petrol and diesel crisis has sparked questions about whether rationing should be considered. But the government says the proposal is from a 6-year-old document and is not being considered as a contingency for the current crisis. There are growing calls for the fuel excise to be suspended for 60 days amid the current crisis. Member for Mayo Rebecca Sharkey says it would provide immediate relief to all motorists.
The government today is introducing a couple of bills. One of them is to provide assistance to truck drivers who are doing that home delivery with supermarkets. But to me, that's sort of a bit of a whack-a-mole approach. This would have a universal application that will help households, businesses and ultimately the nation.
Meanwhile, Australians are looking to snap up an EV bargain as the global fuel crisis continues. Brendan Green from Pickles Auction says a few years ago they were lucky to sell 10 electric vehicles a month. Now it's more than 1,000.
Seen huge spikes. In particular, we've seen a 30% uplift in searching of EVs across our website, and we're on track for a record sales month for the month of March.
3 people are dead and another 2 have serious injuries after a crash at Birdwood yesterday. A truck and a car collided at the intersection of Warren Road and Lucky Hit Road just before 2 p.m. 3 passengers in the car died at the scene. The driver suffered life-threatening injuries while a 4th passenger was also seriously injured. Both are in hospital. The driver of the truck was not hurt and is assisting police with their investigation. There's been a ministry reshuffle after Labor's election win on the weekend. Alice Rolls, Nadia Clancy and Michael Brown have been elected to Cabinet. Zoe Bettison and Nat Cook will continue on the backbench. The ministry will be sworn in by the Governor of South Australia this morning. That's when we'll find out who's taking on which portfolio. Labor now holds 33 seats as the count after Saturday's election continues. The ALP has won light in the Gawler area. Independent Lou Nicholson is expected to win Finnis from the Liberals, and One Nation is ahead in Hammond, MacKillop and Narunga. The Libs are hanging on in Morphett and Hyson. South Australians are being urged to get their flu shot from next month. National Pharmacy's Chief Pharmacist Beck Rogers says it's important to get the shot every year to stay protected.
With the flu shot, it's really important that you do that every year because it changes every year. And so you won't be protected if you got vaccinated last year.
The flu shot is free for those most at risk, the over 65s, children under 5 and those with medical conditions. And some showers have been reported north of Adelaide this morning, but Simon Timke from the Weather Bureau says it hasn't been much.
That band, it moved across the northern suburbs of Adelaide. We didn't pick up a lot of rainfall, but we had
1.2 millimetres at the RAF base at Edinburgh, 1.4 millimetres at Little Para Reservoir, and quite a few spots up to the north and northeast there, picking up half a millimetre to a millimetre or so.
Now turning to 5AA Sport. Get to Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Mawson Lakes for the Outlander ES. Drive away from just $39,990. Good morning, Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Kate. Geelong is set to be without Patrick Dangerfield for tomorrow night's match against Adelaide. The Cats' captain has a calf injury. The Crows will also have to make changes, though, with Rory Laird and Callum Archie both injured, while Taylor Walker is set to be rested. Still on footy, AFL legend Tony Shaw says the grand final is a game for the fans, not the corporates and broadcasters, as the league inches closer to a twilight grand final. This year could be the year it's pushed back to a twilight start, opening the door for halftime entertainment headlined by Kylie Minogue. The Fans Association wants the league to explain the benefits, and the former Magpie Premiership captain warns once it's moved, it can't be moved back.
But I just think it's got a really great social connect, which will be interrupted. I understand it will happen, and it probably will go to a night game in a couple of years. They won't bring it back to a day game if it doesn't go as well.
After 9 years at Liverpool, Mo Salah has announced he's leaving the Reds at the end of the season. The 33-year-old signed a 2-year deal just before the end of last season, but won't see out the remaining year of the contract. But a public falling out with manager Arne Slot has seemingly accelerated his departure. The prolific striker taking to social media with an emotional goodbye message.
Leaving is never easy. You gave me the best time of my life. I will be always one of you. This club will always be my home, to me and to my family.
And that is the 5AA Sport.
Thank you, Tom. Now checking 5AA traffic.
And Walkley Heights still sorting out that smashed Bridge Road near South Terrace. Modbury, Truck v Stobie Pole, North East Road near Kelly Road. It's taken out power in quite a few areas, so lights on the blink around that whole area today. And gravel getting cleaned up from a spill at Netley, Marion Road near Pembroke Avenue today. Slow going Brighton Road, Glenelg East with a camera, Seaview Road, Henley Beach. Harris Scarf Friends exclusive great brand sale is on now. Save 50% off full price pillows by Dunlow Pillow. See conditions online. Harris Scarf, great brands, great prices. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
And now to the 5AA forecast. The fight against scams never stops. To defend you, Australian banks have joined forces with a major investment in new technology. Partly cloudy for Adelaide today. We're heading for a top of 27, a shower or two tomorrow and 20 degrees. 19 and cloudy for Friday. Staying grey on Saturday, cloudy and 22. And 25 the top and mostly sunny on Sunday. Right now it's 21 degrees on 5AA, always Adelaide.
Oh, geez, it's hot in here. Can someone pass the Morford air? Oh, that's better.
When the temperature is too hot or cold to bear, reach for the Morford Air, Adelaide's own homegrown family air conditioning company. Morford Air has kept South Australians perfectly comfortable for over 50 years. So when it's too hot or cold to bear, you can always reach for the Morford Air. Look for the bright blue building at 602 Marion Road or visit morfordair.com.au.
Morford Air.
The company you keeps unpacking sport and entertainment's untold stories and keeps you part of rugby leagues in a huddle. Keep good company with the Backstage podcast.
If you need to fix your pipes, call Precise. Call Precise. If your toilet's blocking up, call Precise. Call Precise. If your lights aren't turning on or your hot water is gone, or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Precise.
Precise Plumbing and Electrical. Call 1300 700 200. That's 1300 700 200. For fixed price services, call Precise.
For a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Call Precise.
20 years ago, FIVEAA Milk Company was formed with a simple purpose: to give South Australians the freshest quality milk, farmed by the best SA dairy families. Keep it local, keep it real, keep farming families farming. 20 years on, FIVEAA Milk Company produces over 17 million litres of milk every year, supporting 9 SA dairy families and employing over 100 South Australians. Look for local FIVEAA Milk Company products at your supermarket, and let's keep a good thing going.
The most frustrating thing about having your car repaired after a collision can be the wait. Sometimes months,
At Premier Panel Services, the wait is one thing you won't have to worry about. We've expanded our workshop and our highly skilled team. It means we're better equipped to deliver an outstanding outcome for you and your car. RAA and MTA approved, Premier Panel Services work with most insurance companies. So ask for Premier Panel Services and get back on the road sooner.
Introducing the Caliente by Beechwood Homes. A multi-level masterpiece of design, innovation and style. Inspired by the effortless glamour of Palm Springs in California, it's bathed in natural light through clever architectural design. At its heart, a stunning 6-metre island bench anchors a kitchen that's as beautiful as it is functional. The Caliente is open for viewing at 10 Simon Crescent, Craigburn Farm, Saturdays and Sundays 1 to 4:30pm. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home.
5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
21 tonight, congratulations to Ella from Clemzig, who's the winner of the Merino Fine Foods gift basket, which sounds delicious. Get and support the great people at Merino Meat and Food Co. Let's keep the giving going, shall we, with the Care Alert smartwatch that we've got to give away. You can use your home care package or NDIS funding and get a Care Alert for free. Australia's #1 personal alert system. There's little mystery as to why they keep innovating, and the watch is so far ahead of anything else in the market. It's not funny. Visit carealert.com.au. Shall we spin the wheel?
I'll do it. I'll just get up and walk over there. Will,
yes, you do it.
Bear with me.
Every number on the wheel relates to a birth year. If it's yours, you simply need to be the first caller through. The number is 25, which means the year is 1950. So people turning 76 this year or having already turned 76 are eligible to win simply by being the first caller through on 8223 0055 right now, and we'll get you that Care Alert smart dialer. 1950, the first modern credit card launched in 1950.
Really?
Diners Club in New York.
Diners Club. Does Diners Club still exist?
Great question. Well, maybe our listeners be able to help us out in that
I
front.
had a Diners Club card years ago.
They were everywhere, weren't they?
Yeah.
8223 0000 or 048808 1395. In the meantime, let's head to the Bay. Matthew Pantelis is at Jetty Road this morning, where locals are reacting, Pants, to the council contemplating some speed limit reductions.
Absolutely. Morning, boys. Good to be out and about again for you for a couple of mornings a week. And down here today, as you say, the council thinking about, in fact, wanting, really, the administration urging the councillors to support a move to reduce the speed limit on Jetty Road down to 30 kilometres an hour, and in surrounding streets down to 40 k's from 50 an hour. And look, there's a couple of underlying issues here as well. Talking to some of the traders especially, parking is a big issue. Now, a number of parks have been removed from Jetty Road, obviously, with the upgrade over the last year or so that saw the street closed for much of the time. But they say it's not being policed. In side streets, people park in 2-hour zones and are there all day, and parking inspectors not doing enough about that. So that's an issue for the traders. They say as far as the speed limits go, well, there's a mixed view. Some wouldn't come on tape to have a chat. Ones who did a broadly supportive, as you'll hear in a sec, but a lot of the traders say, look, it's not going to make a difference unless it's actually, again, policed. So you can make it what you like, but if people aren't here monitoring it in terms of police or council authorities, then people will be doing whatever they like down Jetty Road. So, look, there's a few underlying issues down here. By the way, traders telling me Brighton is next for a major street upgrade down there. Their main street, Jetty Street, about to undergo the same sort of treatment as has happened here in Glenelg. So I don't know how many people around Brighton are aware of that, but something to look forward to down there. In the meantime, what are people saying? Have a listen.
Hard to do more than 30 k's an hour down Jetty Road particularly anyway. But during the day, it's just pretty stop-start anyway.
I don't think there's any need to reduce it either, because I just think there's, it's self-regulating. People go slow because they need to go slow, and it works.
To be honest, I wish that they'd taken out all of this street and just made it a walking street, because it is ridiculous to have this sort of traffic coming through.
Thank you for that, Pants. That's really interesting. So, I mean, that is the experience if you drive down Jetty Road. I'm a bit more sceptical of the plans to make some of the surrounding streets 30 k's an hour. But, yeah, I agree with those people. It's hard to actually go faster than 30 k's an hour on Jetty Road at Glenelg at the moment. Brighton, surely Jetty Road will be a cautionary tale for any upgrade of Jetty Road at Brighton. Just stage it.
Yeah.
Just stage it.
Well, at least Jetty Road, at least Brighton, rather, won't have the added complication of the trams being shut.
That's true.
At the same time for the overpasses.
Now,
but
Judith,
the idea if you live in Brighton, you see what Glenelg did with you about doing the same thing. Like,
I'll have what they're having. Hey, congratulations to Judith in Craigburn Farm. First caller through for the Care Alert smartwatch. A reminder to everyone who was ineligible or was unable to call in. Lots of people tried. You can use your home care package or NDIS funding and get a Care Alert for free, Australia's #1 personal alert system. Visit carealert.com.au. So, born in 1950, Judith, which means you're a teenager during the 60s. What was your favourite band when you were a teenager? Music-wise, what were you into?
Oh, I'm just trying to think. I used to watch the Johnny O'Keefe show.
Yeah.
That's going back a few years.
Sure is.
What about the Beatles, Judith? Did you get Beatlemania?
Yes, I did, and I had one of those Beatle hats. It was a mustard-coloured one. I don't know what happened to it. And I had the flared pants. I used to do all my own sewing, so I had the flared pants as well.
Fantastic.
You weren't a bodgy or a widgie, were you?
No, they were the 1950s when Elvis was around.
Yeah, you're far too young for that then.
Thank you for that.
Have you spent your whole life in South Australia?
I'm actually born in Toowoomba.
Really?
The first Dad was from up there, so for the first 4 years I was in Toowoomba, but Mum was an Adelaide girl and wanted to come home. So, yes, the rest of my life I've been in Adelaide.
And where did you go to school?
Several. First of all, Dominican Convent in at Franklin Street, and then out to St Joseph's Kingswood, the primary school, and then to Mercedes College.
Yeah, right. Fantastic.
Well, lovely to learn a bit more about you, Judith. Yeah. Terrific to chat.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on winning the smartwatch.
Well, if you're in real shock, you've got a Care Alert watch to look after you. If you pass out.
Good on you, Judith. Judith from Craigwood Farm, the winner of the Care Alert this morning. Well, might we reflect on decades past, because we spent a little bit of time last hour talking about the front page of the Tides this morning. A family of 10 that, David, you mentioned online. The comments were about people aghast at a family of 10 and how Australia's changed over the last century, where large families were more commonplace, and as we know, they've gotten smaller and smaller. Well, we thought we might get someone who knows this subject better than anyone on to talk about it further. Mark McCrindle, demographer with McCrindle Research, who is on the line. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So, Mark, it's not that long since families of this size were commonplace. I said before, my mum's one of 9. We've had listeners texting in. One of our listeners, Terry's one of 15 kids. What have been the big drivers of the reduction?
Oh, and it has been significant. I mean, even in 1961, we had 3.5 was the average number of babies per woman in Australia. That's the average. So, you got some with 1 and 2. That means you got a lot with 5, 6 or 7. So it's dropped very quickly. We're now down to 1.4, by the way. So lowest recorded birth rate ever. It's definitely been cost of living has been a big challenge, cost of raising children generally. Also, people delaying their family-forming years. So because people are more likely to stay longer in education, perhaps get a university degree or a qualification, then start to get into the workforce, save up a bit, that means the average age of parents starting a family is now 32 for the mum, 34 for the dad, so about a decade later than their parents did. So the delay in starting families also means that they end up with fewer children.
Because in the same way that this family of 10 has got people dropping their jaws in Adelaide today, I reckon equally, if you were 20 years old and you said to we're out with your mates and you said, I popped the question last night and we're going to get married this year, they'd go, what? You're 20. But 100 years ago, that was almost the average marrying age, or 22 or something like that, wasn't it?
Well, exactly, for a male and close to the very early 20s for a woman. In fact, by the time a woman was hitting 21, 22, 23, they were, quote, left on the shelf. So pretty extreme changes in a short period of time to now almost 30 is the average age of a woman marrying. and about 31, 32 for a male. So, yes, that's been pushed back as well. And that means, because people like to get a bit of a financial foundation ready before they start the serious relationship or get married and then start the family, that cost, that educational pathway, and indeed the time at which they're moving into these stages does delay the number of children that families can fit in.
What's the big picture impact of that, Mark? I'm thinking back to when I was growing up and at school, and whenever demography came up, the sort of demographic time bomb was always the impending retirement of the baby boomers, and there's a huge cohort of the population to retire. Would there be enough people to sustain them? And that was this upcoming concern. What's sort of the equivalent forecasting concern we have now with the declining birth rate?
Well, that's exactly it. It's the ageing of the population. Now, partly that's because we're living longer, which is great, but it's also in terms of the total population we're ageing because we're not having enough young people being born. We're well below those replacement rates. So we're ticking the population along only through migration, and that doesn't do much for the average age. So this ageing profile is significant. It means that because we have relied so much on the working age population to pay tax and fund the increasing federal costs of an ageing population, healthcare, pension costs, that equation's worked okay. But now we've got what's called the declining age-old dependency ratio, so fewer taxpayers relative to the retirees, and that has long-term budget implications and even workforce implications to find carers and supply the needs of an ageing population.
Well, as somebody else recently, a guy by the name of Peter Malinowskis put it, who's going to wipe your bum when you're 90 years old?
That's one way to put it. And at the moment, we reach out to migration to fill some of those gaps. But of course, we do need to ensure that there's enough young people to replace those that are retiring, and there's enough earnings coming in for tax reasons to fund increasing costs. And just from a population perspective, that we have the next generation of families, the mix of the generations in our suburbs and society. We need families and we need babies. We can't just rely on technology to solve all of our problems.
Do we need another baby bonus?
Well, it had a big impact. It turned around a declining birth rate, which we had in the late 1990s, got us pretty much to replacement rates within that 10 years. So we know that the baby bonus or other financial incentives can have an impact, and it certainly, apart from helping families out at that expensive time of life, it shows that you're doing a national duty. This is important for the future. You're making an investment for the next 80 or 90 or 100 years in our society, so we deserve to, the taxpayer should sort of assist a little at this important national contribution.
Fascinating stuff, Mark. Mark McCrindle, who heads up the demographic firm McCrindle Research. Thanks for joining us.
At Walkley Heights, a smashed Bridge Road near South Terrace, Mod Breed, Truck v Stobie Pole, North East Road at Kelly Road. They kind of cleared that away, but still a power outage there affecting lots of lights around the area. Take it easy on the drive, and gravel getting sorted out at Netley at the moment, Mannering Road near Pembroke Avenue. Camera, Hart Street, Glanville too. Bob J. T-Marts won't be beaten with their best hire price guarantee. When you're after great service and unbeatable value, head to the Tyramul specialists. Bob J. T-Marts, they'll look after you. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Thank you, South Australia. Once again, the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery has sold out early. And that's because every ticket funds life-changing medical research to support better care and better outcomes for South Australians, like you and your family. All remaining prizes, including the $4 million grand prize, will be drawn Thursday, April 2nd. Miss out this time? Become a member today to never miss out again. homelottery.com.au. Licence M14894.
Planning your next event? Choose a venue where everything comes together. Adelaide Convention Centre. It's where your vision and our expertise come together, where creative cuisine meets extraordinary productions and excitement and innovation combine in a space that is truly world-class. From corporate gatherings to grand celebrations, we make every occasion unforgettable. Bring your event to life in a venue where it all comes together. Search Adelaide Convention Centre and start planning your next event today.
Shower time. The best time of the... Is that a crack in my grout? Cracks mean leaks. Hidden damage. Watery damage. The home we love falling apart around us. We should move out.
Got grout out? Time to call the Grout Guy.
We'll take the old grout out and put the new grout in.
If fresh fish and seafood is a feature of your Easter feasts, make sure you check out the Fish Factory. The Fish Factory process their fish direct from the fishing boats. You can't get fresher fish unless you eat it on the boat. There's SA West Coast oysters and king prawns, freshly whole or filleted fish and SA crayfish. Get it live or freshly cooked. Find it all at the Fish Factory. Open all Easter week, including Good Friday. Only closed Sunday and Monday.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
6 minutes to 9. Let's have a look at the fuel situation. It's better to be a member with RAA Road Service. The cheap unleaded this morning is the United at Melrose Park. The cheapest, $2.39.9. But almost universally, it's $2.49.9. It's about $2.50 a litre you're going to be paying. And that's 91 unleaded. Diesel, let's start in reverse. What you're almost going to be paying everywhere is $2.99.9, so just a shade under $3. There's a few over $3. Mount Compass, Wollonga has them over $3. The Mobil at Gillis Plains is probably the best, but $2.94.5. It's not like, you're going to save enough money to go on a holiday.
At least they got good bread at the server on Wollonga.
Terrific bread.
Really good bread. Andy Clappus makes it.
Tomorrow morning on the program, we've got the rumour file coming up. If you want to win yourself a triple pack of the Shopfire range, thanks to Thorne Clark, wonderful Barossa winery. Prepare your rumours, and then tomorrow morning you can unleash them on the world and win yourself that magnificent wine. It's high-quality stuff. Let's go to Gawler. Mike, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
So we're talking about large families, Mark. What was your thoughts about the topic?
Oh, look, I've got a funny story for you. Back in Yorkshire between the wars, my great-grandfather died and left my great-grandmother with 12 children. So, as was the thing, she remarried and got pregnant again. And while she was in hospital delivering that 13th child, the new husband was left with this horde of kids to look after. So he came into the hospital to check out the new baby, and she said, "How did you go with the kids?" And he said, "Oh, all right." He said, "I had a bit of trouble with the little red-headed bugger. He didn't want to go to bed. He wouldn't go to sleep." And she said, "We don't have a little red-headed bugger." He'd rounded up one of the neighbours' kids and tried to put him to bed with the rest.
It's probably easy to lose track with that many of them.
Correct.
That's a great story, Mike.
Great yarn. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
We should sling Mike a couple of Wallace Cinema tickets, I reckon. That was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do you want to do a quick election roundup to round us out this morning?
Yeah, so we're just looking at the seats in doubt. There's a chance, the Libs currently on 4 seats. There's a chance they could double that to 8. There are a silly chance in Narunga. One Nation's candidate, Chantel Thomas, is ahead by 588 votes.
I think that's where you're getting that from.
That's on the the electoral website.
Oh, see, the electoral, that's reporting no preference booths, because last night they had it as the Tanya Stock had hit the front because they'd counted Blythe.
Oh, okay. So she's in front now.
Yeah, she was in front, but some of the psephologists like Kevin Bonham I followed were saying they were the most favourable preference booths for her, and they weren't preferable enough to sort of bastardise the language.
Okay.
That they were still projecting One Nation gets
so
the
they
one.
Still reckon One Nation's going to hold on. The other seats where the Libs are quietly confident.
But still counting to be done, so.
Yeah, Hyson, Josh Teague, looking like he's a chance of holding on. Also Morfitt. Gee, that's going to end up in the courts, isn't it? This is
the place where you couldn't
vote for the first 2 hours.
Only 11 booths in Morfitt. I found that really interesting. Not that many polling places in Morfitt.
Now, Stephen Patterson's currently ahead by 4 votes. 4. But that's only with 60% counted, and the pre-polls are favouring the Libs. The other one is McKillop. Again, 30% left to be counted. And there's only a few hundred votes in that between One Nation, our man, Jason Virgo.
Yeah.
Sex-party guy.
Virgo.
Yeah, versus Rebecca Rosser from the Libs. So, there's an outside chance that it's going to go from a total catastrophe to a more manageable humiliation for the Liberals.
Well, they would have taken that heading into the weekend, I think. Right. They would have taken that heading into the Christmas last year.
Oh, yeah.
That's all from us. Graham Goodings is coming up next.